The memory of the Gale Pearl's theft still burns, a phantom weight in your hand where it once rested. You scan the horizon for Liu Qingxian's return, but the air carries only the dust of disappointment and a quiet, internal laugh at your own vulnerability. The truth of who you are echoes in that absence, a threshold now crossed. Enter the inner circle and learn who else walks freely in the shadows. Chapter 326. Chapter 326, rewarding the Green Cloud Sect disciples at this moment. The person he most wanted to see was Liu Qingxian. He wondered how things had unfolded after the disciples of the Giant Sect took the Gale Pearl from her. Had she, in a fit of rage, gone to confront the Giant Sect and ended up injured? To his disappointment, the person who arrived wasn't Liu Qingxian. Instead, it was several Green Cloud Sect disciples, led by great Elder Feng Guchan. Most of them were unfamiliar to him, except for Xianxia, the senior disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak. He had interacted with her in the past. Needless to say, it wasn't a pleasant experience. Xianxia, who had been confined for a month as punishment, was now released early by Green Cloud Sect Master Liu Qingxian due to the opening of the Sword Forest. She was allowed to participate, aiming to break through her current cultivation realm. She was essentially working to atone for her mistakes. Thus, she appeared cautious, wary of making further missteps. Suddenly, she vaguely sensed someone staring at her. When she turned her head, she saw a masked man she didn't recognize. He was dressed in a loose robe, carrying 2 swords strapped to his back and a slanted ancient zither at his waist. His appearance was deeply enigmatic. She furrowed her brows and adopted a vigilant posture. But then her expression changed abruptly as she exclaimed, "Junior Sister Su?" She couldn't believe her eyes. She was actually seeing Su Yining. Upon hearing the call, Su Yining, who had been distracted and annoyed with No. 1 Shadow Guard, froze. Following the voice, she looked over and instantly became delighted beyond measure. "Senior Sister," she hurried over. After spending so much time outside the sect, to suddenly see an old compatriot was a thrill beyond words. The 2 women chatted animatedly for a long time. Xianxia, upon learning of Su Yining's tumultuous journey, couldn't help but feel sympathy. She said, "It's time to end your wandering. After the Sword Forest trial, come back to the sect with me. Master has been very worried about you all this time." Hearing this, Su Yining's eyes reddened, and she nodded silently, "All right." But then she became acutely aware that this also meant the end of her journey with No. 1 Shadow Guard. Though their time spent together had been brief, their perilous and unforgettable experiences made her cherish those moments deeply. "Senior Sister, let me introduce you to my friend." She waved at Jiang Fan, calling him over. "Come here, I want to introduce you to my senior sister and the other Green Cloud Sect disciples." Jiang Fan's lips twitched slightly. Did they really need her to introduce him? He walked over, gazing at faces, some familiar, others not, marked by weariness. As he sensed their cultivation realms, which fell short compared to those of other sects present, he couldn't help feeling a pang of sympathy for the Green Cloud Sect. From within his sleeve, he fished out a bottle of top-grade Foundation establishment pills, long since unnecessary to him. "Greetings, senior brothers and sisters. I am Su Yining's friend," he said. "This is our first meeting, so I've brought a small token of friendship." Opening the Jade bottle, he flicked the pills one by one toward the elite disciples present. Xianxia received one as well. Upon examining it closely, she froze. "Is this a Foundation establishment pill? Why does it look different from the usual kind?" Feng Guchan, who typically refrained from meddling in disciples' affairs, was drawn to the scene upon seeing the pill. His eyes widened in astonishment as he exclaimed, "Top-grade Foundation establishment pill? What?" The Green Cloud Sect disciples were utterly stunned. This turned out to be the legendary top-grade Foundation establishment pill, said to exist only in rumors. Each pill was as effective as multiple ordinary Foundation establishment pills combined. This was an incredibly priceless treasure. Even Su Yining was completely dumbstruck. Where did such top-grade Foundation establishment pills come from? And why was he giving something so valuable away so casually? She urgently tugged at Jiang Fan's sleeve. "Are you crazy?" Jiang Fan smiled faintly and replied, "Since they are your senior brothers and sisters, they are also my friends." With that, he placed the remaining 7 or 8 pills into her palm. "Take the rest, they're yours." "What?" Su Yining held the lightweight jade bottle, yet her heart felt heavy. Xianxia, as the senior disciple of Heavenly Sword Peak, had seen much in her time. Yet she was completely floored by Jiang Fan's generosity. Top-grade Foundation establishment pills being handed out like candy. She asked incredulously. Junior Sister Su, who is this gentleman? Which sect does he belong to? Su Yining was momentarily unable to answer. More than anyone, she wanted to know the real identity of number 1 Shadow Guard. Just then, another group arrived. It was the disciples of the Desire Sect, led by Elder Liu Qingxian. Their flamboyant and opulent attire made them the immediate center of attention. Feng Guchan's focus shifted from Jiang Fan to Liu Qingxian. He stepped forward and greeted her with cupped hands. Elder Ling, it has been a long time. Liu Qingxian's strength exceeded his, and as the Desire Sect ranked among the top sects, Feng Guchan tactfully lowered his stance. Liu Qingxian smiled and replied, Elder Feng, I trust you have been well. Oh. She suddenly spotted Jiang Fan and immediately brightened, addressing him enthusiastically. Young master, you're here as well. It made sense. Since Jiang Fan was associated with the Green Cloud Sect, he would naturally be among them. However, seeing that his face was still masked, she deduced he wasn't eager to openly identify with the Green Cloud Sect. Thus, she wisely refrained from exposing him. Elder Ling, Jiang Fan said, cupping his hands in greeting, has your injury healed? Liu Qingxian had never been able to bring herself to use the revitalizing pill he had gifted her. She laughed lightly and said, thanks to your blessing, I've nearly recovered fully. This exchange left Feng Guchan and the Green Cloud Sect disciples in utter shock. Was the esteemed great elder of the Desire Sect conversing with no one Shadow Guard as though they were peers? Furthermore, Liu Qingxian glanced toward Feng Guchan with subtle disdain. If that wasn't enough, what completely shattered their composure was this. Liu Qingxian turned to Su Yining, standing beside Jiang Fan, and offered a warm smile. Miss Su, do you have the qualifications to participate in the Sword Forest trial? Su Yining's expression dimmed as she smiled bitterly. I'm afraid I don't. Sword Forest participation required qualifications petitioned by the sect from Myriad Sword Sect. Not a single extra could be granted. Even Feng Guchan couldn't bring her into the Sword Forest. She could only wait outside. Liu Qingxian smiled faintly and said, in that case, why not join the Desire Sect? One of our disciples perished on the way here, leaving behind an empty slot. You could participate as a member of the Desire Sect. What? Feng Guchan objected. Wouldn't that be improper? Wouldn't that mean they owed Liu Qingxian a favor? Liu Qingxian laughed and said, what's the harm? If Junior Sister Su is a friend of the young master, then helping her with such a trivial matter is nothing at all. Clearly, it was all done out of respect for no one Shadow Guard. Feng Guchan was in utter disbelief. He cupped his hands toward Jiang Fan and said, young friend, may I ask who your master is? Perhaps I may have had dealings with him in the past. As Great Elder, he had connections with prominent figures from various sects. He was intrigued what kind of sect disciple would command such respect. Jiang Fan rolled his eyes. My master, isn't your nemesis the Green Cloud Sect master my master? I am but a loose cultivator, Jiang Fan replied dismissively. Then he turned to Su Yining and said, why aren't you thanking Elder Ling yet? Su Yining was overjoyed and repeatedly expressed her gratitude to Liu Qingxian. Initially, she had merely come to Myriad Sword Sect to spectate, never intending to enter the Sword Forest. Unexpectedly, Liu Qingxian gave her this incredible opportunity, all because of number 1 Shadow Guard. Any lingering frustration she'd held toward him immediately dissolved. At that moment, someone tugged at her sleeve. When she turned to look, she found it was Liu Qingxian, whose eyes burned with curiosity and admiration, her face betraying an undeniable envy. Junior Sister Su, how did you meet such an extraordinary gentleman? As Su Yining took in the expressions of Liu Qingxian and the other Green Cloud Sect disciples, brimming with barely concealed envy, her heart swelled with a trace of pride. She whispered softly, he's a friend I made back in Lonely Boat City. So, it was an old acquaintance. Liu Qingxian grew even more envious, looking at number 1 Shadow Guard, who could converse as equals with 2 great elders. She said with a hint of awe, Junior Sister Su, you truly have remarkable luck. To encounter such a man of extraordinary talent, someone who clearly holds you in such high regard. Recalling the rumors about Su Yining and Jiang Fan, as well as Su Yoren, she vaguely remembered hearing that Su Yining expressed some regret over her earlier engagement. She advised, Junior Sister Su, this number 1 Shadow Guard is leagues ahead of Jiang Fan. You must seize this chance. Chapter 327. Chapter 327. Sword Forest Hidden Danger. Su Yining quickly hushed herself after hearing this. SHH. You cannot say such things carelessly. The relationship between me and number 1 Shadow Guard is just one of ordinary friends. She sighed softly in her heart. She had wondered if number 1 shadow guard had feelings for her. Otherwise, why would he always save her and help her so much? Last night, he even specifically assisted her in her cultivation, greatly improving her strength. But after spending time together, she felt both disappointed and relieved. Number 1 shadow guard had never shown her any romantic feelings. Is that so? Xianxia sighed. Such an excellent man, in my opinion, is just as outstanding as the chief disciples of the various sects. To forge a bond with him is the utmost fortune. If missed, it would be a lifelong regret. Su Yining thought deeply. She couldn't deny that number 1 shadow guard was indeed the ideal man she had once dreamed of marrying. But when such an ideal person stood before her, she did not feel as moved as she had initially imagined. Instead, Jiang Fan's figure often lingered in her mind. Ah, thank you for your guidance, senior sister. Su Yining sighed silently. Her heart grew more complicated. Just then, a series of female screams rang out. They looked over. 3 tall horses approached quickly. The man leading the group was tall and handsome, riding a high horse, his eyes bright and powerful. Wherever he passed, female disciples from various sects whispered shyly among themselves. Some more open-minded ones even screamed on the spot. Their eyes were filled with unabashed admiration. Xianxia's eyes lit up with admiration. This trip to the Sword Forest is not in vain. To see the chief disciple of the True Thunder Sect, Liu Qingxian. He is regarded as the heavenly pride king of the 9 sect dual stars alongside Fu Keohun from the Heavenly Sound Sect. Her tone was tinged with a hint of admiration. Jiang Fan listened, feeling speechless. Wasn't Aoyang Jun from the 1000 Refinement Sect worthy? Wasn't he handsome enough to be included in the dual stars? He was puzzled as to why Liu Qingxian had come to participate in the Sword Forest. The Sword Forest only benefited Foundation Establishment disciples, and he was already in the core formation realm. His presence served no purpose. Better to leave the opportunity to the Foundation Establishment junior disciples and sisters. Elder Ling, why don't I see Jin Yunli? Jiang Fan's eyes flashed. Among the 3 horses, only 3 disciples were visible. Jin Yunli was nowhere to be seen. Elder Ling said gleefully, him. He's not so lucky. After being attacked by Lengu that day, he and his disciples ran separately. The 3 disciples returned, but there's been no trace of him since. He must be in grave danger. Jiang Fan's eyes flashed. He had seen Lengu's ferocity firsthand. It was quite possible Jin Yunli was in danger. That's a pity with the beast tide approaching. If only he could have killed a few more demon beasts before leaving. Jiang Fan teased. Elder Ling smiled. You are wicked, but even if he returned alive, he wouldn't have a good ending. He stole Su Qingyang's top-grade magic sword. How could he expect a good outcome? Did he think Su Qingyang's top-tier swordsmanship in the 9 sect land was just for show? It's a pity that the only 2 top-grade magic swords in the 9 sect land went missing together. At this moment, Liu Qingxian had already reached the mountain gate. Under the admiring gazes of many female disciples, he stood up straight, enjoying the attention. Suddenly, he caught sight of a familiar figure. It was Su Yining. Unlike others, Su Yining turned her side, deliberately avoiding him. Junior sister Su? Liu Qingxian couldn't help but call out, dismounting quickly and striding over to her. Xianxia was stunned. Junior sister Su, you know senior brother Liu? Su Yining looked helpless. She had tried to avoid him, but he still approached. Reluctantly, she greeted, Senior brother Liu. Seeing Su Yining again, Liu Qingxian was delighted. Seeing you safe, I am completely relieved. The road from Desire's sect to here is extremely unsafe. Even my master has gone missing. It's quite lucky that you've arrived safely, not far behind us. Luck. Being chased by the copper scale black centipede and ultimately encountering Lengu. Recalling the terrifying scene when Lengu appeared, she shivered and rubbed her arms. Instinctively, she moved closer to Jiang Fan. Only then did she feel safe. This action did not escape Liu Qingxian's attention, and he immediately frowned, displeased. You again? Jiang Fan pouted. That's what I should say. This is an event for Foundation Establishment disciples. Why are you here causing a commotion? Seeing Su Yining leaning closely beside Jiang Fan, Liu Qingxian's heart filled with a bit of anger. If not for the presence of Green Cloud Sect elders and Ling Jinghu here, he would have taken action to drive Jiang Fan away. With a displeased expression, he said, Do you think I came here to participate in the Foundation Establishment event like you? I am here at the invitation of Myriad Swords Sect to clear the hidden dangers in the Sword Forest. He spoke with pride. After he finished the last sentence, he noticed the disciples around him showing signs of fear and realized he had let something slip. But it was too late to take back his words. So he calmly said, Junior Sister Su, the sword forest is not peaceful. It's better for you to stay by my side for protection. Others may not be able to protect you. Su Yining didn't think further, decisively shook her head. Thank you for your kindness, senior brother Liu. Having #1 shadow guard to protect me is enough. The chief disciple of the sect was indeed strong, but in the face of Leng Gu, he could only rely on luck to escape. It was different with #1 shadow guard. He had directly slain Leng Gu. It was obvious who to stay with for safety. Lu Shi frowned again. He really couldn't see what was so great about this guy with an unknown background that made Su Yining trust him so much. Even if his identity was revealed, at most he was just an elite disciple of some sect, right? How could he compare to even a single finger of Lu Shi? Su Yining was still too young, never having faced real danger. She didn't understand the significance of a true expert. All right, if you change your mind, come find me. With many eyes watching, Lu Shi found it inappropriate to force Su Yining. But when danger arose in the sword forest, when Su Yining sought him out again, it wouldn't be as easy as now. If she did not offer something in return, she couldn't expect his protection. With Lu Shi leaving, the disciples and elders from various sects started a commotion. Ling Jinghu spoke sternly. There are hidden dangers in the sword forest. Why didn't Myriad Sword Sect mention it? Feng Guchan was also angered. We have sent our sect's elite disciples, the pillars of our next generation. If there are any losses, can Myriad Sword Sect bear the responsibility? Jiang Fan pondered for a moment, then calmly said, There's no need to worry too much. Myriad Sword Sect is more concerned about any issues than we outer sects are. If the danger were uncontrollable, they wouldn't open the sword forest. The so-called hidden danger likely wasn't too serious. At least the disciples should be able to run away safely. What puzzled Jiang Fan was, why did they go to the lengths of inviting Lu Shi to clear the danger? With so many experts in Myriad Sword Sect, couldn't they handle it? After pondering for a while, his eyes lit up. Could it be that this hidden danger required the power of thunder and lightning from the true Thunder Sect to control? Thinking of this, he took a deep breath and felt reassured. Because the power of thunder and lightning, he also had it. Chapter 328. Chapter 328. Sword Forest Training Treasure Land. The commotion outside the mountain gate quickly drew the attention of the Myriad Sword Sect. Shortly after, the Myriad Sword Sect master arrived in person. With a face full of apology, he explained, Everyone, I am truly sorry, really sorry. It's not that our sect deliberately concealed anything. It's just that this hidden danger poses no real threat. The beast tide is imminent, and elite disciples from each sect are eager to enhance their strength. Our Myriad Sword Sect, following the orders of the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, opened the Sword Forest to contribute our part to the bigger picture. Thus, we invited people from the True Thunder Sect to eliminate the hidden danger without shutting down the Sword Forest. If anyone still feels uneasy, you may turn back now, and our sect will provide food and transportation for the journey. With words spoken to this extent, the anger in everyone's hearts dissipated. Upon careful consideration, the sword forest of the Myriad Sword Sect has always been exclusive to its own disciples. If not for the order from the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion, when would outer sect disciples have the chance to partake? They should be grateful to the Myriad Sword Sect instead. There was truly no reason to blame the sect for their unintentional oversight. Seeing that the doubts had been dispelled, the Myriad Sword Sect master cupped his hands and said, In that case, please follow me. The elders and disciples of the 8 sects were invigorated. Traveling such a long distance was all for making progress in the sword forest, wasn't it? Jiang Fan looked forward with anticipation. He had long since refined the 8th layer of foundation establishment to perfection. All he needed was an opportunity to break through to the 9th layer of foundation establishment. At that level, core formation would no longer be an unattainable realm. Under the guidance of the Myriad Sword Sect master, they arrived at the back mountain of the Myriad Sword Sect. Jiang Fan could not help but be secretly amazed at first glance. The vast back mountain, spanning several miles in radius, was barren, yet it was filled with countless long swords as far as the eye could see. Dense and in numbers reaching tens of thousands. Some were rusted and decayed, some were as new as ever, some were several feet long like trees, some were several feet wide and thick, shaped like giant rulers. They constantly emitted strands of sword chi, moving back and forth among the countless swords, making sharp clanging sounds. Jiang Fan silently clicked his tongue. Rather than calling it a sword forest, it was more like a sword tomb. The Myriad Sword Sect Master pointed to the sword forest and said, "This is our sect's sword forest. The swords here are either left by our disciples, elders, sect masters, and supreme elders after their deaths, or they are trophies from slaying enemies, accumulated over 1,000 years or more to this day. As the oldest sect among the 9 sects, only it could create such a breathtaking sword forest." The Myriad Sword Sect Master continued, "Within these broken swords lies the remaining spiritual power of their previous owners, accumulating over time, dispersing and spreading throughout the sword forest. Disciples from each sect find a place rich in spiritual power for meditation and cultivation. For the next 3 days, you may enter after the incense stick has burned out." The disciples of each sect rubbed their fists eagerly. They all heard the implied meaning. The distribution of spiritual power in the sword forest was very uneven. Near the powerful ancient swords, the spiritual power would naturally be more abundant. Whoever could find it first would undoubtedly gain an advantage, with the hope of breaking through to the next realm. Some clever ones had already taken out talismans for movement techniques. Those who were particularly wealthy even produced magical treasures for movement, all to gain a head start. "Where do we run later?" Su Yining's eyes were filled with excitement, eager to give her newly mastered movement technique a try. Jiang Fan looked at the boundless sword forest, feeling a bit troubled. Participating in the sword forest did not guarantee a breakthrough in the current realm. If luck was not on your side, it might be a fruitless trip. As he was contemplating, he thought of the little Qilin and patted its butt through his robe. "Don't you have a strong sense for heaven and earth spiritual treasures? Which direction is stronger?" The little Qilin often searched for heaven and earth spiritual treasures to eat, and its sensitivity to spiritual energy was something humans could not match. The little Qilin grumbled discontentedly. It quietly stretched out a small paw from inside the robe and pointed to the northwest. "Over there is the strongest. There seem to be several places with strong spiritual energy." After a pause, it then pointed to the northeast and said, "There is also over there. However, it feels a bit ominous over there." Ominous? Did it mean a hidden danger at this moment? Na Yunxi approached quietly and whispered, "Junior sister Su, this junior brother, look." She motioned with her mouth toward the Myriad Sword Sect people behind them. Ling Gihai, with a swollen face, had brought 5 elite disciples of the Myriad Swords Sect behind the sect master at some unknown time. Na Yunxi said, "If we talk about understanding the sword forest, who could surpass the disciples of the Myriad Sword Sect? Wherever they go, it must be where the spiritual energy in the sword forest is most abundant. We should follow them. Even if we can't grab the best spots, we won't be too far off." The logic was sound. But Jiang Fan glanced around and speechlessly found that disciples from each sect were more or less observing the Myriad Sword Sect disciples. Clearly, those who qualified as elite disciples were highly intelligent. The method Na Yunxi realized the other sects did as well. He shook his head slightly and said, "Senior Sister Nai, inform the Green Cloud Sect disciples. Follow me closely later." Na Yunxi hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The incense stick burned out quickly. The Myriad Sword Sect Master said, "The time is up. Gihai, escort the junior brothers and sisters there." Ling Gihai, as a disciple of the second level of core formation, was theoretically unqualified to enter. But this was the Myriad Sword Sect. Further inserting one core formation disciple, what could the outer sect members say? Ling Gihai nodded heavily and mumbled, "Yes, master." He glanced at Jiang Fan from a distance, his eyes burning with anger. Yesterday's complaint indeed earned him a severe beating. The wounds on his face were visible. The wounds on his body were numerous but hidden, all thanks to that bastard No-One Shadow Guard. He hoped they wouldn't run into each other in the sword forest. Otherwise, he might have to exchange friendly blows with him a few times. The Myriad Sword Sect Master looked at the time and said, "Since everyone is ready, then begin." Whoosh, 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 Ling Gihai reacted the fastest, immediately activating the talisman on him. The 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples cooperated seamlessly, each activating their talismans, shooting forward like a blazing arrow. The other sect disciples quickly sprang into action, showcasing their divine skills and rushing out. Additionally, they were smart enough to choose to follow closely behind Ling Gihai. Na Yunxi's heart tightened as she was about to activate her movement technique talisman, but she didn't receive any signal from Jiang Fan. "Junior brother, if we don't follow now, it'll be too late." Jiang Fan watched Ling Gihai heading straight east and was puzzled. Wasn't the best place supposed to be in the northwest? Why head east? Soon, he understood and smirked. This Ling Gihai, he anticipated everyone's anticipation. Apparently, Ling Gihai also analyzed that his actions would attract the focus of each sect, concerned that the best spot might be snatched by a swarm of outer sect disciples. So he deliberately chose a place with little spiritual energy to lead everyone away, waiting for the chance, then quietly heading northwest. In that case, he did not hold back and went northwest to pick a spot first. "Follow me." Jiang Fan moved, touching his toes to the ground and leaping forward with his movement technique. Direction, northwest. Na Yunxi was stunned. "Junior brother, where are you going? We should quickly follow Ling Gihai." Chapter 329. Chapter 329, giving the useless opportunity at this moment, Ling Gihai was already running so fast that he was almost out of sight. If they didn't chase now, they would completely lose him. Su Yining was also greatly puzzled. In her view, wherever Ling Gihai was heading must be the best place. Jiang Fan's face was expressionless as he said, "Don't ask so many questions, just follow me." Without a second thought, Su Yining employed her movement technique and quickly followed. She trusted Jiang Fan unconditionally. Na Yunxi and the 4 disciples from the Green Cloud Sect, however, showed hesitation. "Senior sister, what should we do?" a disciple from the Green Cloud Sect asked anxiously. Na Yunxi found herself in a dilemma. By her judgment, following Ling Gihai was definitely the right choice. But Jiang Fan at this moment. Jai Ryu's eyes lit up and she crushed the movement technique magic artifact at her chest, catching up to Jiang Fan and eagerly asking, "Can our Desires sect follow you, sir?" It turned out, all other sects were watching Ling Gihai. Only the Desires sect, under Ling Jinghu's secret instruction, was watching Jiang Fan. Wherever Jiang Fan went, they followed. Jiang Fan glanced back at the disciples of the Green Cloud Sect who were still considering, and sighed slightly. For the sake of their fellow disciples, he wanted to help them, but they didn't even have the most basic trust. On the contrary, it was the few disciples from the Desires sect who trusted him unconditionally. He had given them the opportunity and felt no guilt. "Come on!" Jiang Fan no longer looked at Na Yunxi and the others, then swiftly moved away. Jai Ryu beamed with joy and waved to the disciples of the Desires sect behind her. "Hurry up! The gentleman has allowed us to follow." The disciples of the Desires sect happily activated their talismans and followed suit. This scene made Na Yunxi even more hesitant. Why did the disciples of the Desires sect trust Jiang Fan so much? Feng Guchan saw that all the disciples had left and Na Yunxi was still hesitating and angrily said, "Why are you still standing there?" Na Yunxi said in distress, "Great Elder, who should I follow? One is in the east, one is in the northwest, completely opposite directions. If we choose the wrong place, all the good spots will be taken." Feng Guchan also hesitated. Reason told him that the direction Ling Gihai was going in was definitely correct. But the strange actions of the Desires sect confused him very much. Could that masked young man know Sword Forest better than Ling Gihai? He too fell into thought. Ling Jinghu rolled her eyes helplessly. Jiang Fan was giving their fellow disciples benefits, but they were still hesitating. She could hardly stand it anymore. She quietly nudged Feng Guchan's ribs and motioned towards the direction of the Myriad Sword Sect Master. Feng Guchan glanced sideways and was dumbfounded. He saw the Myriad Sword Sect Master at that moment, his face thunderous, staring intently in the direction where Jiang Fan and others had gone. He looked both angry and anxious. Feng Guchan slapped his forehead. Suddenly he understood everything, cursing Ling Gihai's cunning inwardly. He quickly kicked Na Yunxi and said urgently, "What are you still hesitating for? Quick, follow that young man." If they were late, the good spots would be taken by the Desires sect. This opportunity was originally given by No One's Shadow Guard to the disciples of the Green Cloud Sect. They mustn't let the Desires sect take it. With the great elder's word, Na Yunxi no longer hesitated. She gritted her teeth and said, "Follow No One's Shadow Guard." The disciples of the Green Cloud Sect finally began to move one after another. A distance of several miles was not far for elite disciples, especially with everyone possessing movement technique magic artifacts and talismans. Before long, Jiang Fan and Su Yining were the first to arrive at the dense sword forest in the northwest. There they saw several broken swords emitting intense sword chi, surrounded by countless swords in a formation reminiscent of stars encircling the moon. The spiritual energy in the area was astonishingly dense, 10 times more than elsewhere, especially 2 high-grade broken swords. They were likely relics of some elder or even a supreme elder. Not only was there ample spiritual energy, but the sword chi was also extremely abundant. Jiang Fan decisively pulled Su Yining to sit beneath one of the long swords and claimed it. Just as they sat down, Jiang Fan felt the sword chi fused spiritual power permeate his body. His cultivation started to stir faintly. He was overjoyed, unlike ordinary spiritual energy. The spiritual energy fused with sword chi had a magical effect of breaking through bottlenecks. For many late stage of core formation martial artists for whom pills had lost their efficacy, this place was an invaluable holy land. Without saying anything more, he quickly sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. Jai Ryu arrived soon after with her group. At a glance, she saw another high-grade broken sword and decisively said, "Over there." Thus, the 4 disciples of the Desire Sect occupied another prime cultivation spot. A moment later, Xianxia arrived, panting as she led the 4 disciples of the Green Cloud Sect. Gazing at the broken swords with extremely dense spiritual energy, a look of joy appeared on her face. No one shadow guard didn't deceive us. There really is a great cultivation spot here. While she was happily scouting which place was better, she inadvertently found that the spots Jiang Fan and the Desire Sect disciples occupied were filled with frighteningly abundant spiritual energy and sword chi. The few remaining excellent cultivation spots, the best among them, were not even 1/3 as good as these 2. The joy on her face instantly vanished. So there were actually 2 supreme cultivation spots in this place. By comparison, the few remaining spots seemed very ordinary. What really frustrated her? The spot occupied by the disciples of the Desire Sect was originally meant for them by Jiang Fan. But at the critical moment, they hesitated too much. The opportunity was snatched away by the Desire Sect. "Senior sister," several disciples of the Green Cloud Sect realized, and they were all regretful. They had only hesitated for a moment. How could the treasure land be seized by the Desire Sect? Xianxia wished she could find a hole to crawl into, and was also somewhat annoyed that the Desire Sect had taken their opportunity. She stepped forward to negotiate. "Friends from the Desire Sect, this spot was meant for us by junior brother. Could you please move over?" Jai Ryu rolled her eyes and closed her eyes, focusing on her cultivation. She didn't want to bother with her at all. First come, first served is an unchanging rule. No matter what, she was in the right. Helpless, Xianxia braced herself and approached Jiang Fan, cupping her hands. "Junior brother, could you help us again?" A supreme cultivation spot differed 3 to 4 times from an excellent one. Imagine the impact. If she could, she wanted to fight for it, but Jiang Fan ignored her as well. In the end, Xianxia turned to Su Yining for help. "Junior sister, you have a good relationship with No One Shadow Guard. Could you speak to him for us? That treasure land was meant for us by No One Shadow Guard." Su Yining looked at her with an exasperated expression. "I'm not saying you're wrong, senior sister. No One Shadow Guard and the Desire Sect have been very close on this journey, yet he didn't think of helping them but helped you. But you guys just hesitated. This was your own choice. You can't blame the Desire Sect for taking your treasure land." Xianxia was unwilling to give up. She spoke again. "Junior sister Su, please do us a favor." At this moment, Jiang Fan frowned slightly, slowly opened his eyes and said, "You should hurry and pick a spot. Ling Gihai and the disciples of the Myriad Sword Sect will be here soon. If you hesitate any longer, you will have nothing to pick." After speaking, he continued to silently operate his mental method. With that, Xianxia completely gave up. Feeling deeply regretful, she led the disciples of the Green Cloud Sect to choose the 3rd best spot. Although it was quite good, looking at the 2 supreme cultivation spots, she felt like she was being pierced by needles with regret. An hour passed, as the group immersed themselves in cultivation. Several sounds of breaking through the air came from far away. It was Ling Gihai. He looked overjoyed and said, "Haha, a bunch of self-proclaimed smart fools trying to follow me for benefits. Let them waste time in that barren place. Ha ha ha," as he laughed. He suddenly couldn't laugh anymore. With a face as though he had seen a ghost, he looked at the scene before him. Chapter 330. Chapter 330, stealing home the 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples hurriedly stopped in their tracks. Their expressions frozen as they gazed at the scene before them. They saw 3 groups of people taking over, the entire sword forest, the best 3 cultivation spots. This was a place where Myriad Sword Sect disciples often came, because the sword chi and spiritual energy here were the most concentrated. Especially with those 2 broken swords left by the Supreme Elder, cultivating beside them was like receiving divine aid. They had diverted the other sect's disciples, just to monopolize these 2 top-grade spots. But who knew? Someone actually stole them. "Junior brother Ling, what do we do?" a female disciple asked anxiously. "Are we really going to use the remaining cultivation spots?" The last 2 spots. were even worse than those at the Green Cloud Sect's disciples' locations. Ling Gihai snapped out of it. He had never expected someone would steal from him. He looked closely and became angrier. "It's you." That person was none other than the No-One Shadow Guard who had caused him to be punished. Jiang Fan slowly opened his eyes, revealing a smile, and said, "Thank you, junior brother Ling, for diverting the other sect's disciples. Only then could we freely choose a spot here." These words, killing someone by hitting their heart, made Ling Gihai furious. "You scoundrel, you didn't hide, and you still dare to snatch the myriad sword sect disciples' spots. Get out, or else you'll regret it." The cultivating disciples were awakened one after another, seeing Ling Gihai angry. Na Yunxi shivered in fear, her eyelids kept twitching. It seemed that the top-grade spot was not so easy to occupy. Everyone present here was in the Foundation establishment realm. Ling Gihai, a core formation elite, was like a king in the sword forest. No one could provoke him. The top-grade spot that Jiang Fan occupied seemed unlikely to be defended. Jai Ryu was also startled. She quickly tried to mediate. "Junior brother Ling, first come first served, let him." She had thought that relying on her relationship with Ling Gihai, she could earn some face. But she underestimated Ling Gihai's hatred towards Jiang Fan. He snorted, "You from Desire's sect still want to cultivate in that top-grade spot, shut up." These words left Jai Ryu both angry and helpless. She lacked the ability and her words held no weight. Ling Gihai then glared at Jiang Fan, saying, "Do you think being here first makes it yours? Let me tell you, this is the Sword Forest Myriad Sword Sect, my territory. If I tell you to leave, you leave." Su Yining couldn't help but worry. She whispered, "How about we give in?" If for a piece of land Jiang Fan was harmed by Ling Gihai, she would feel insufferable guilt, and she would have no heart for cultivation. But Jiang Fan gently waved his hand, calmly saying, "I claim this spot with my ability. If others want it, they have to take it by ability." Hearing this, Ling Gihai laughed angrily. "Do you really think some subpar swordsmanship makes you arrogant in front of me, Ling Gihai? Our myriad sword sect are the ancestors of swordsmanship. Who do you think you are? I'll give you 3 breaths time, otherwise don't blame me for being rude." He raised 3 fingers. He hadn't even started counting. Jiang Fan already counted for him, 1, 2, 3. "Done." Clang. Ling Gihai felt deeply provoked, decisively drew his sword and roared, "Don't cry until you see the coffin. I'll fulfill your wish." He immediately employed a high-level, profound swordsmanship technique and slashed at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan quietly stood up. He walked out of the cultivation spot to avoid damaging the cultivation spot in the fight later. "Against you, swordsmanship isn't needed." He faced him empty-handed, and his blood surged inside. The poison pill was unlocked. Strands of poison blended into his spiritual power. He struck at Ling Gihai from a distance. Ling Gihai immediately felt an evil gust and became alert. The slashing sword retracted to his front, forming whirlpools that dispersed the spiritual power. "Petty tricks!" Seeing no danger, Ling Gihai sneered. Until he heard hissing noises around his ears, he realized his beloved mid-grade long sword was corroding with burnt black marks. His expression changed drastically, and he exclaimed, "You have trained in poison technique." He quickly tore a piece of cloth to wipe off the poison. But the sword was already full of pits and hollows in a semi-destroyed state. He felt both heartbroken and furious. "You destroyed my magic artifact. You're courting death." Kanghai's sword. His spiritual power surged, fully revealing the second level of the core formation cultivation. The most powerful strike of his swordsmanship was unleashed. The air trembled. Even Na Yunxi, watching from afar, held her breath, feeling the immense pressure from a core formation strike. Su Yining's body tensed up, sensing the suffocating power. Jiang Fan remained calm. His strength was similar to during the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion auction. Almost no improvement. Back then, if Jiang Fan faced Ling Gihai, he wouldn't be able to fight back at all. Now it was different. He didn't even use the body technique of the Heavenly Battle 9 forms. He simply fully unleashed the poison pill. He raised his powerful palms and struck fiercely. "Dragon Elephant Battle Body," he roared. His palms burst with immense power, like a raging elephant roaring to the heavens. It was imposing and terrifying. Ling Gihai, who was close by, was shocked by the strength in the palms, nearly dropping his sword. Immediately, the unimaginable force descended like a mountain, fiercely hitting his sword. In an instant, the sword was sent flying. His hands, like dragons gliding into the sea, struck his chest directly. Bang! Ling Gihai was like he was truly hit by a wild elephant. He was sent flying instantly. The speed was like a meteor, leaving a series of afterimages in the air. He crashed into a large section of sword forest before finally stopping, lying on the ground coughing blood incessantly. The depression in his chest indicated he had suffered a serious injury. He completely lost his fighting ability. Jiang Fan said calmly, "Your strength doesn't match your arrogance. You have no power to take this top-grade spot." After finishing, he returned to Su Yining's side and closed his eyes to continue cultivating. The surroundings were silent. Na Yunxi rubbed her eyes, doubting what she saw. A foundation establishment martial artist, just using body strength, made Ling Gihai cough blood. Ling Gihai was a genuine second-level core formation realm martial artist, and he practiced swordsmanship. He was truly an offensive-type martial artist. Yet, he was instantly defeated. She looked at Jiang Fan's back and couldn't help but gasp. The friend Su Yining met, who was this mysterious person? Even the chief disciples of each sect weren't this terrifying, right? Jai Ryu squinted her lips, gloating. He deserved it. Then she quietly went back to cultivating. Su Yining saw Jiang Fan taking direct action for the first time. This refreshed her understanding of the No One Shadow Guard's strength. At the same time, she quietly felt fortunate to be with Jiang Fan. With him here, she truly didn't have to worry about anything. Ling Gihai's painful face was full of horror. Wasn't the sword forest for Foundation establishment cultivators? But the attack from the No One Shadow Guard just now was unlike anything a Foundation establishment disciple should have. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His face was full of reluctance. When he noticed the top-grade broken sword near Jiang Fan, he suddenly realized something. He couldn't help laughing out loud. Jiang Fan opened his eyes, frowned. "I just injured you. I didn't feed you madness medicine." Ling Gihai laughed even more wildly. "Ha ha ha. I'm laughing at your bad luck. There are only 2 top-grade spots and you chose the one you shouldn't have." Jiang Fan frowned, staring at him. Ling Gihai continued with a taunting face. "Not afraid to tell you that sword next to you is left by the first Supreme Elder who created the sword control technique. To cultivate beside his sword, you need the same source of sword chi. Otherwise, after long cultivation, you'll be repelled by the sword chi." The 5 myriad sword sect disciples suddenly understood. "Indeed, I nearly forgot this part. We can cultivate here because we brought a jade pendant with a strand of sword chi from Supreme Elder Su Qingxian. How could an outer sect disciple find the same source of sword chi?" After hearing this, Su Yining's face turned ugly. So this top-grade spot actually has such a background. She really felt a faint, prickling pain in her body, like the sword chi was rejecting her. Ling Gihai mocked, "Scoundrel, if you're smart, then get lost. This place is only for myriad sword sect disciples. If you keep being stubborn, you'll only suffer." What an unexpected turn. This place still belonged to their myriad sword sect disciples. But Jiang Fan showed a strange smile. "According to you, as long as you cultivated the sword control technique, it's fine." Chapter 331. Chapter 331. Foundation Establishment 9th Layer Perfection. Ling Gihai heard it and just found it funny. "You speak as if you've mastered the sword control technique." Jiang Fan closed his eyes and sensed. Sure enough, he could feel a trace of sword chi merging into his body, a slight sting as it penetrated his meridians. This was just the beginning of cultivation. As time passed, the scattered sword chi would increase. What Ling Gihai said was not untrue. Without the recognition of the sword chi here, it was impossible to cultivate long-term. Fortunately, he really had learned the sword control technique. Immediately, he silently activated his sword heart. Once the sword chi of the sword control technique was demonstrated, the sword chi here instantly became docile. Su Yining felt the stinging sensation disappear and muttered in confusion. Was it just an illusion? Then she looked at Ling Gihai suspiciously. Could Ling Gihai have been trying to scare them? After thinking about it, she stopped wondering and closed her eyes to cultivate. Ling Gihai sneered, "Stubborn mule. Let's see how long you can last. If you can last half a day, I'll write my name backwards." Soon, several 2-hour periods passed. Ling Gihai and the few disciples gradually grew surprised. Jiang Fan and Su Yining were cultivating with ease, showing no discomfort at all. Their aura was gradually improving as they deepened their cultivation. It looked nothing like the scattered sword chi. Worse yet, elite disciples from other sects began to find this place one after another. Seeing 2 top-grade cultivation spots still available, they immediately rushed over. This scene made the myriad sword sect disciples anxious. "Junior brother Ling, what should we do?" Ling Gihai gritted his teeth and said, "Wait a bit longer. I don't believe they can last half a day." Half a day passed in a flash. This place was already filled with disciples from various sects. Not to mention the 2 remaining top-grade spots had been taken. Even the less desirable spots were occupied. However, what made Ling Gihai and the other Myriad Sword Sect disciples even more frustrated was Jiang Fan and Su Yining were still casually cultivating. "Why is this happening?" said the name-reversed Ling Gihai in disbelief. He didn't understand. Why was the sword Qi here compliant with Jiang Fan, not rejecting him and Su Yining? It shouldn't be. Unfortunately, it was not the time to think about that. The 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples went from being confident to now being anxious. "Junior brother Ling, what should we do?" The best 2 top-grade cultivation spots were gone. The other good spots were also occupied. Now even the lesser spots weren't available for them. Ling Gihai's face darkened and he shouted, "What's the panic? Aren't I here?" He coldly glared at another top-grade cultivation spot occupied by the Desire Sect and snorted, "Jai Ryu, you've had enough time to cultivate. It's time to give up your spot?" Unable to seize the No-One Shadow Guard's spot, he would turn on the Desire Sect. Jai Ryu felt a bitter taste in her mouth, having anticipated that Ling Gihai, unable to deal with Jiang Fan, would trouble her. Although the other party was injured, he was still a genuine second level of core formation disciple. How could she deal with that? Reluctantly, she prepared to give up the spot along with her senior brothers and sisters. Jiang Fan, still in cultivation, calmly said, "I'll protect the Desire Sect." Jai Ryu felt overjoyed. She cupped her hands towards Jiang Fan gratefully, then continued her cultivation. Ling Gihai's face changed and he said, "What do you mean? Do you intend to meddle in the Desire Sect's affairs?" Jiang Fan slowly opened his eyes and a sharp light flashed within them. "Are you not convinced?" Ling Gihai opened his mouth. But remembering the other party's imposing physique, he could only resentfully shift his gaze to Nai Yunxi and the Green Cloud Sect disciples, and shouted, "Get lost, you blind fools!" Nai Yunxi was startled, intimidated by the other's powerful aura and prepared to move aside with a shiver. However, Jiang Fan coldly said again, "I'll also protect the Green Cloud Sect." Nai Yunxi was overjoyed and gratefully cupped her hands multiple times, then sat back down at ease. Fortunately, with No-One Shadow Guard, otherwise today this 3rd cultivation spot wouldn't have been theirs. Ling Gihai was infinitely annoyed and pointed to the remaining good cultivation spots. "You won't protect them too, will you?" Jiang Fan raised an eyebrow a bit impatiently. "I don't like noise. Go find another place to cultivate." Being constantly interrupted in cultivation would annoy anyone. Leaving the Myriad Sword Sect disciples here, who knows what kind of disturbance they might cause. What? The 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples' faces changed drastically. "The best cultivation spots are all concentrated here. Where are we supposed to find good spots? We're not leaving." "Right. Why should we, the Myriad Sword Sect disciples, as the hosts, not have a cultivation spot?" Jiang Fan's patience reached its limit. He slapped the ground with both hands and sprang up. Activating his movement technique, he left a string of afterimages, his fists all heading towards Ling Gihai. Ling Gihai was shocked and hastily defended, but already injured, how could he withstand it? He was immediately sent flying, crashing into a swath of sword forest, blood spewing from his mouth. "You!" Ling Gihai was furious. "Why suddenly attack him?" Jiang Fan coldly said, "Take your people and leave. Continue being noisy and I'll keep hitting." Ling Gihai felt both ashamed and angry. Was this guy too domineering? But his strength far surpassed his own, leaving him no choice. He then glared angrily at his 5 disciples and yelled, "What are you still lingering for? Find somewhere else." If they didn't leave, he'd be the one getting hit again. The 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples looked resentful. They had hoped to rely on Ling Gihai's strength to occupy top-grade cultivation spots. Instead, he was so easily defeated in front of the masked man. Accepting this, they had missed out on other good cultivation spots. Wasted half a day. Not to mention top-grade spots, they couldn't even find a decent cultivation place. Several Myriad Sword Sect disciples, who had hoped to reach the 9th layer of Foundation establishment, now hated Ling Gihai. Watching them leave in disgrace, Jiang Fan returned to his spot by the sword, resuming his cultivation. Nai Yunxi and the other Green Cloud Sect disciples, who had felt aggrieved, now felt extremely satisfied. The Myriad Sword Sect hosts didn't even have ordinary cultivation spots. They had the 3rd-ranked spot. What more could they desire? So they happily resumed their cultivation. A day later, Jiang Fan was the first to break through to the 9th layer of the Foundation establishment realm. Having stayed at the 8th layer for so long, his foundation was extremely solid, making the breakthrough to the 9th layer feel natural. Thus, he didn't intend to stop. He continued to seize the time to cultivate. 2 days later, before they finished their intensive training in the Sword Forest, he finally reached 9th layer perfection. His eyes glowed with excitement. Don't underestimate the difference between the 9th layer and 9th layer perfection. The difficulty of breaking through was more than twice that of breaking from the 8th layer to the 9th layer. Without this Sword Forest, even with top-grade foundation establishment pills, it would have taken at least 2 months. This trip was truly fortuitous. At the same time, Su Yining also had an enormous gain. Starting at the 3rd layer of foundation establishment, in the nourishment of the top-grade cultivation spot, she defied the odds, leaping 3 levels, reaching the 6th layer of foundation establishment. Overjoyed, she grabbed Jiang Fan's hand and said, "I've broken through to the 6th layer of foundation establishment, the 6th layer." This enormous breakthrough felt like a dream. Jai Ryu was also thrilled, saying, "I've broken through to the 7th layer of foundation establishment." Having started at the 5th layer, she also soared 2 levels. The other 3 Desire Sect disciples, due to their higher realms, only broke through 1 realm each, reaching the 8th and 9th layers of foundation establishment. Meanwhile, at the Green Cloud Sect, the 4 other disciples, originally at the 6th and 7th layers of foundation establishment, managed to break through to the next realm after 3 days of hard cultivation. Only Na Yunxi, at the 8th layer of foundation establishment, was held back by the lesser quality of their cultivation spot. She remained at 8th layer perfection. Had she been at a top-grade cultivation spot, she would have long since broken through to the 9th layer. Seeing the ecstatic Jai Ryu and other Desire Sect disciples, her regret for earlier hesitation grew stronger. She had missed the opportunity and held back her junior brothers and sisters of the Green Cloud Sect. But without Jiang Fan's protection, they couldn't have kept the 3rd spot. Just as she was about to express her gratitude, suddenly, a straight bolt of lightning fiercely struck in the northeast. The thunderous sound made the unsuspecting crowd stumble. Jiang Fan abruptly stood up, looking towards the northeast. Unwittingly thinking of Little Killen's previous sensing, there was spiritual power in the northeast comparable to this place. But it felt ominous. Chapter 332. Chapter 332 Mysterious Fog. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. His voice deepened as he said, "Pack your things and leave the Sword Forest at once." Whatever it was, staying away was definitely the right choice. Su Yining, Na Yunxi, and other Green Cloud Sect disciples couldn't help but recall the previously mentioned Sword Forest menace. How dare they delay? They immediately gathered their belongings and followed Jiang Fan. Jai Ryu was even more decisive. She directly abandoned some cultivation items and tightly followed Jiang Fan with the Desire Sect disciples. "Junior sister, do we need to be in such a hurry?" A male disciple from the Desire Sect reluctantly glanced at several bottles of precious spirit pills that they hadn't had time to pack. Jai Ryu frowned and said, "Yes, it's urgent. 3 days have passed and this supposed menace hasn't been cleared. The Myriad Sword Sect either underestimated it or overestimated Lu Shi. In any case, this is no good news. No one Shadow Guard surely realized this and urged us to leave quickly." The Desire Sect disciples just then realized the severity of the problem. They shuddered involuntarily. They abandoned the things they didn't have time to pack and quickly followed Jiang Fan. If they returned safely, it would be best. If they were unlucky and encountered the unknown menace, being by Jiang Fan's side would undoubtedly be safer. The group hurried along the path they had come. As long as they returned to the Myriad Sword Sect Master and the elders of various sects, they would be safe. Strangely, Jiang Fan stopped after walking for about a quarter of an hour. He looked at the scene in front of him, somewhat in disbelief. Su Yining exclaimed in surprise, We are back." The place in front of them was exactly where they had been cultivating earlier. The 2 precious top-grade broken swords and the items they had left behind in a hurry were still there. Jai Ryu's beautiful eyes rounded. "How could this be? We clearly followed the direction we came from. How could we get lost in the Sword Forest?" Jiang Fan looked quite serious. Even if he had mistaken the direction, it was impossible for 10 people traveling together to all mistake the direction, right? This wasn't just about getting lost. He had a thought in his mind, used his movement technique, stepped on one of the broken swords and shot into the sky, attempting to look into the distance. To find the way they came, the Sword Forest was only several miles in radius. They should have been able to see the edge. However, when he jumped into the air, his face changed. A thin, faint fog unknowingly surrounded the sword forest. The color was neither deep nor shallow and obstructed their vision. At most, they could only see about half a mile. Seeing his expression change, the disciples felt a pang of worry and quickly jumped up to see for themselves. Seeing the scene, everyone showed a look of panic. Where did the fog come from? We completely lost our sense of direction. The path was clear when we came. Where did it go? Su Yining jumped up to look around, her pretty face gradually turning pale. No one, Shadow Guard. Why don't we separate and rush out of the fog? After thinking for a moment, she suggested, there are about 10 of us. Someone is bound to get out of the sword forest by chance. Then, he can inform the myriad sword sect master and the elders of various sects, and the rest of us can be saved. This was indeed the only feasible way. No matter where the fog came from or what was bizarre about it. Under the intervention of a sect master and the 9 sect elders, the fog would be nothing. Jiang Fan thought for a moment and was about to nod in agreement. Suddenly, his ears twitched. Several sect disciples who had been cultivating here earlier were unknowingly back in their original positions. Did you get lost, too? Jai Ryu looked at the 20 disciples and her face changed. They had just arrived not long ago. More people came stumbling over. They were none other than the disciples of the Myriad Sword Sect. However, Ling Gihai was nowhere to be seen. Only 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples with panicked faces were there. Why are you here too? Su Yining asked in surprise. Without Ling Gihai to rely on, they were much more subdued. They honestly recounted their encounter. They had found a decent cultivation spot to the north. When they were about to leave, they realized they were lost. Unknowingly, they had come here. Jiang Fan's face was heavy. I'm afraid someone is guiding the disciples in the sword forest to gather here. Because they had returned here. The Myriad Sword Sect, which hadn't been cultivating here originally, had also arrived. Something was controlling the fog, guiding all the disciples to gather here. It seemed to validate his guess. Soon, elite disciples from the Spirit Beast Sect, Heavenly Sound Sect, Thousand Refinement Sect, and even the Supreme Sect were led here from all directions. Jiang Fan felt a slight unease. Who's secretly controlling the fog? Gathering elite disciples from various sects here, what's the purpose? He had a bad feeling. This person's intentions were likely malicious. Su Yining also sensed something was wrong and said, we should disperse and rush out quickly. Jiang Fan shook his head. It's useless. Even disciples cultivating elsewhere have been guided here. It shows that this fog has a powerful hallucinatory effect, capable of confusing a group of people. Acting alone would only lead to further confusion. Su Yining bit her red lip, her face changing continually. The 9 sect disciples dispersed in the sword forest couldn't leave the fog. The result of dispersing would likely be getting guided back to the original spot. Breaking through seemed unlikely, and since someone was behind the fog, malicious intent was certain. Dispersing could lead to being picked off one by one. Then what do you suggest? Su Yining asked. Jai Ryu also led the Desires sect disciples over, clearly considering Jiang Fan as the leader. Na Yunxi decisively led the Green Cloud Sect disciples over for assistance as well. Disciples from several sects who had seen Jiang Fan easily defeat Ling Gihai also gathered around. The 5 Myriad Sword Sect disciples, feeling a chill down their spines, didn't hesitate to gather near Jiang Fan either. They looked at Jiang Fan, unconsciously viewing him as their leader. Jiang Fan said in a deep voice, everyone remain calm. This person gathered us here likely to concentrate us for a single blow. We must not panic. Only by gathering our strength can we resist the opponent. A few words could not completely dispel everyone's fear, but it gave them a backbone. Senior brother, we all follow your lead. The Myriad Sword Sect disciples spoke up. Seeing the host sect's disciples doing so, the other sect disciples naturally viewed him as the leader. They all expressed their willingness to follow orders. Jiang Fan nodded. All right, since the situation is critical, everyone shall follow my orders temporarily. I will make 2 arrangements. First, a tactical arrangement, forming a circular defensive formation with me at the center. Disciples skilled in close combat on the outer layer, those skilled in ranged attacks inside. Anyone with defensive arrays or magical treasures, please don't hold back. Set them outside the defense. The disciples complied. With their lives at stake, nobody dared to withhold anything. Soon, there were 5 or 6 layers of defensive arrays outside. Even a core formation demon beast charging and might not break through any time soon. Jiang Fan nodded, squinting his eyes. Second, each sect should check its numbers and report any missing persons immediately. I suspect the person creating the fog is one of our own 9-sect disciples. The Sword Forest was the core secret realm of the Myriad Sword Sect. Before it was opened, the Myriad Sword Sect must have thoroughly searched inside and out, ensuring no outsiders could have been lying in wait. After it's opened, no one outside the 9 sects would dare enter the Sword Forest uninvited. Thus, there was only one possibility. This person was mingling among the 9 sect disciples. So, the sect disciples began to check their numbers immediately. Soon, the Myriad Sword Sect disciples reported proactively. Reporting to Senior Brother, our junior brother Ling is missing. He was leading the way just now, then he vanished into the fog and disappeared. Ling Gihai, was it? Jiang Fan immediately ruled him out. Are there any other missing people? Ling Gihai trying to deal with so many of them. Firstly, he wasn't strong enough. Secondly, if there were any losses, the Myriad Sword Sect would be held responsible. As the Myriad Sword Sect Master's disciple, he had no reason to do this. Supreme Sect, everyone is here. Spirit Beast Sect, all here. Thousand Refinement Sect, all here. Several sects reported, finding no one missing. Finally, a voice rang out. True Thunder Sect, all here. Jiang Fan looked towards the sound and saw only 3 male disciples from the True Thunder Sect. His eyes narrowed. Are you sure no one is missing? The True Thunder Sect clearly also had an unreasonable blood-skirt female disciple. Last night, he had even poisoned her unconscious. Chapter 333. Chapter 333. The strange mirror. The 3 disciples of the True Thunder Sect exchanged glances. They all looked at Jiang Fan with some unease. After all, the masked man in front of them had forcibly taken Su Yining from under Lu Shi's nose. Their relationship with him was not exactly friendly, so they didn't dare to offend and replied cautiously, We won't hide it from you, Senior Brother. On our way to the Myriad Sword Sect, we lost 2 junior sisters. Only the 3 of us and Senior Brother Liu are left. Senior Brother Liu is still eliminating that hidden threat, and it is only the 3 of us cultivating here, no 4th person. What? Jiang Fan's expression changed. The identity of that woman indeed had issues. Su Yining's expression also changed slightly, whispering, I noticed. 3 days ago, the girl in the red skirt followed the disciples of the True Thunder Sect into the Sword Forest. Now, she is the only one missing. Did she release this fog? Not far away. In a dense fog that one could not see their hand in front of them. The Demon Emperor's daughter in a blood-red dress held an ancient demon core in her hand. It was the core of the mirage. It continuously released the fog, making the entire sword forest shrouded in mist, causing people to lose their direction and gradually gather at this place. Listening to Jiang Fan and the others' conversation, the pair of small, sharp horns on her head emitted a faint red glow. She smiled slightly. Well done. You found me so quickly, but so what? Now that you are all gathered, your end is near. At this moment, there was a groan under her feet. Looking down, wasn't it the missing Ling Gihai? But he looked much worse than 3 days ago. His chest ribs were collapsed, breathing more in than out. He was already on the brink of death. The Demon Emperor's daughter sneered, With you in this state, you still wanted to harass me. I'll send you off first, it turned out. Ling Gihai, who was leading the way, had inadvertently discovered the lone daughter of the Demon Emperor. Amazed by her beauty, he had left his junior brothers and sisters behind and approached her alone. The result was predictable. He was beaten half to death by the Demon Emperor's daughter. She raised her jade foot and prepared to stomp on Ling Gihai's head. But at that moment, a bolt of lightning struck the ground in front without warning. From the seemingly empty ground came a strange squeal. Immediately after, a black sinister fog group emerged from the ground. Transforming into a remnant shadow, it moved forwards guided by the mist. Not long after, Lu Shi chased after it with a furious look. Damn, it escaped again. Why is this evil spirit so cunning? He complained and continued his pursuit. The Demon Emperor's daughter watched the whole scene, her playful face now replaced with seriousness. Evil spirit, I must be seeing things. How can there be an evil spirit in the 9-sect land, and it seems to be toying with the human clan chasing it? Clearly, it could easily kill him, her beautiful eyes flashed. She had intended to kill all the elite disciples here, but now withdrew her half-extended foot and said, Evil spirits are not easy to deal with. Since it has also been led to the human elite disciples, let them fight each other first. If the human elite are all slaughtered, so much the better. If not, it's not too late to finish them off. Meanwhile, the disciples of each sect who had been on guard for a long time saw no sign of the so-called danger. They became somewhat lax. Are we overthinking? What if this fog was released by the Sword Forest? Don't talk nonsense. Didn't you see the disciples of Myriad Sword Sect trapped here? If there was fog, we would know, right? How dare you speak? Look at what you've done. Couldn't even provide basic protection. Why open the sword forest? Hey, you ungrateful lot. If it wasn't for the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion's order, would our Myriad Sword Sect treasure land be open to you outsiders? The two sides were quarreling endlessly. Jiang Fan, who had his eyes closed sensing the surroundings, suddenly opened them and shouted, "Be quiet! Something's coming! All be on your guard!" Upon hearing this, the disciples' faces changed drastically and they cautiously looked around. After a while, the surroundings were silent. A disciple of the True Thunder Sect guarding the outermost layer frowned slightly. "There's nothing here." He had barely finished speaking, from directly in front of him on the ground. A black fog mass burst out without any warning, striking straight at the array. Hiss! The light screen formed by the array was corroded into a dark hole in an instant. A 5-layer array in front of the black fog was like paper. In an instant, it reached the True Thunder Sect disciple. He screamed in fear, "What is this thing?" In a hurry, he wielded his long knife to resist. But the fog mass easily knocked it away and then lunged at the disciple's face. In the critical moment, Jiang Fan acted decisively. "Heaven and earth star fall." The Sorrow Frost sword emitted sounds of thunder, causing the black fog mass to tremble violently. Its speed towards the True Thunder Sect disciple slowed down. Then a sword chi filled with extreme cold arrived suddenly, accurately piercing the black fog mass. With a bang, a sound like metal clashing resounded through the quiet sword forest, and the black fog mass rolled back in the air. The black fog scattered all over the ground. Jiang Fan looked surprised. "What is this? Some kind of living being? Or an object controlled by someone? Or a pure gas?" It was the first time he had seen such a strange thing. Screech, screech, screech. The black fog mass, in pain, let out a sharp, piercing cry. A dark ink-like beam shot out from the fog mass, heading straight for Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan's face changed. While dodging, he reminded those behind him, "Spread out!" Plop! The dark beam was incredibly fast. By the time Jiang Fan reacted, the black beam was already in front of him. In a flash, he used his movement technique to evade. The black beam grazed his shoulder, narrowly missing. The robe on his shoulder sizzled and was corroded away. The corroded fabric touched his exposed shoulder, like a drop of lava on his body, causing an intense burning pain. Jiang Fan cried out in pain, flicking away the fabric with his sword. Turning his head to look at his shoulder, he found a large patch of skin had rotted away, exposing blackened flesh. This made him secretly alarmed. Just fabric contact rotted the flesh. If the black beam had hit his body, wouldn't it have instantly rotted his flesh to the bone? A great alarm rose in his heart, seeing the black fog mass rolling, seemingly preparing for a second attack. How could he give the opponent a chance? Quickly performing his swordsmanship, several sword chis blasted onto the black fog mass, but what startled Jiang Fan was, this fog mass was completely unaffected by sword chi attacks. Each strike could only knock it back a bit but could not disperse it. At that moment, he was at the 9th layer perfection of the Foundation Establishment realm. Using the Sword Heart engraving, its power had more than doubled since before. Even a second-level core formation expert couldn't withstand it. How could it be unable to disperse a mere fog mass? After receiving continuous attacks, the black fog mass became ferocious, letting out chaotic cries of screech, screech, screech. The black fog around it expanded rapidly. Unexpectedly, it transformed into a humanoid figure of black fog. The difference was, its head was a bizarre black mirror. In the mirror, countless dense black beams were rapidly condensing, once fired. These beams, like a storm, Jiang Fan might evade with his agile movement technique, but none of the disciples present could avoid it. The consequence would undoubtedly be corpse after corpse corroded into mush. What to do? This strange fog mass was completely unaffected by ordinary attacks. 1,000 thoughts ran through Jiang Fan's mind. Suddenly, he remembered something, his eyes focused, and he muttered, "Could this be the hidden danger within the sword forest?" Thinking about the Myriad Sword Sect inviting elders and disciples of the True Thunder Sect who were proficient in thunder techniques, his eyes lit up. Chapter 334. Chapter 334. Who outwits whom could it be that the thing in front of him was afraid of thunder and lightning attacks? As luck would have it, he had just recently mastered the first move of the 3 Pure Thunder Shadow. As he wielded it, he invoked the power of thunder. He saw the black beams about to shoot out from the mirror. He no longer hesitated. He tried lifting his leg and kicking. A faint, flickering thunder arc appeared on his right leg, with a hiss sound. The thunder arc lashed into the belly of the black mirror. Hiss, 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 an extraordinary scene unfolded. The black mist, which he could do nothing against with his swordsmanship, was immediately seared by the thunder arc the size of a fingertip, as if a hot iron brand was placed against human skin. Instantly, the belly of the mirror evaporated into dense black smoke. A scream of pain and anguish came from the mirror brewing those black beams. Next, a furious human voice came. "How do you know thunder technique?" This shout sent chills down everyone's spine. This black mirror, it had its own consciousness and could speak human language. Jiang Fan's hair stood on end. What exactly was this thing? Luckily, it was as he had expected. The power of thunder and lightning he cultivated had a strong, restraining effect on the black mist. Staring at that eerie black mirror, Jiang Fan shouted, "You should leave now if you know what's good for you." This mirror was eerie and highly dangerous. If he could scare it off, it would be best to let the myriad swords, sect master, and the great elders figure out a way to deal with it. There was no need to risk his life fighting it. The black mirror retreated a bit, clearly apprehensive. However, after looking at the disciples behind Jiang Fan, it reluctantly said, "Boy, I can spare your life, on the condition that you mind your own business. I've finally cultivated my form and stumbled upon so many vibrant humans. It's an excellent opportunity to consolidate my realm. If you dare obstruct me, I will take you down with me." These words threw the disciples into panic. They had seen the terrifying power of the mirror with their own eyes. If it wanted to kill them all, it could easily do so. Only Jiang Fan's power of thunder and lightning caused it concern. Jiang Fan frowned deeply. He certainly did not want to meddle. The problem was, Su Yining was here, and many disciples of the Green Cloud Sect were present. How could he just ignore it? Moreover, if this black mirror ultimately absorbed all their blood energy, becoming even stronger and no longer fearing his power of thunder and lightning, would it still spare him? So the choice was clear. He had to strike while it was weak and take it down. "You are not worthy to take me down with you." Jiang Fan snorted coldly, taking the initiative to employ his movement technique and charging forward. He had only tested a bit of his power of thunder and lightning earlier. He had not yet used the 3 pure thunder shadow. If this eerie mirror indeed feared the power of thunder and lightning, he might still have the ability to fight it. "Stubborn fool," the black mirror snarled. The humanoid body formed of black mist immediately squirmed. A ghost hand formed of black mist split off from its body. The crowd had not even seen it clearly. The ghost hand shot out with astonishing speed. By the time they reacted, they all cried out in alarm, because the ghost hand had already caught hold of one of Jiang Fan's legs. Jiang Fan felt a chill in his heart. Such speed. How could anyone in the Foundation establishment realm react to this? The ghost hand pulled hard, trying to knock Jiang Fan down. Fortunately, Jiang Fan's physique was exceptionally strong, and the ghost hand could not overpower him at once. Seizing this opportunity, there was a flash of thunder light between Jiang Fan's legs. The ghost hand burst into a cloud of black smoke with a popping sound. However, before Jiang Fan could catch his breath, terrified shouts erupted from the crowd. They saw dozens more ghost hands emerging from the black mirror's body. "Heh, it seems your power of thunder and lightning is only that strong. Not as powerful as the young man chasing me. I worried in vain." It had been probing Jiang Fan all along. Now that it had determined Jiang Fan's power of thunder and lightning was not as strong as it feared, it was relieved. "In that case, I take back my words about sparing you. You will be my blood meal too." "Ha ha ha." Countless ghost hands, leaving trails of residual shadows, rushed towards Jiang Fan. Everyone was shocked and dismayed. They could not imagine what would happen to him being caught by innumerable ghost hands. Given the mirror's malevolence, it would undoubtedly kill him mercilessly. Yet, to everyone's surprise, in the face of countless ghost hands, Jiang Fan showed no fear. Instead, he pushed his movement technique to its peak. One core requirement of cultivating the 3 pure thunder shadow was achieving great success in movement technique. Only by pushing the movement technique to its peak could its true power be revealed. Hiss, 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 as his movement technique reached its peak and his cultivation technique circulated. Thunder arcs began to shoot out from his body's surface, and they increased in number. At first there was 1 arc, then it was 10 arcs, soon there were 100 arcs. In an instant, Jiang Fan's body was covered with countless thunder arcs, flickering wildly. The air was filled with the scorching scent of thunderbolts. The scattered thunder threads raised the hair and body hair of the martial artists present involuntarily. Every heart was enveloped in a terrifying sense of danger. Martial artists with keen senses were horrified. Their bodies tensed, sweat as large as beans seeped from their pores and dripped down, yet they dared not move a muscle. Because they had a strong sense of intuition. If they moved rashly, they would die, immediately die. If they felt that way, how was it for the Black Mirror directly facing Jiang Fan's wild charge? Watching Jiang Fan wrapped in thunder arcs like a thunder god descending, its voice trembled. "You!" Poof! Jiang Fan's rapidly advancing figure was his response. The dozens of ghost hands that touched him were instantly blasted into black smoke by the thunder arcs covering his body. His speed did not diminish. Until close to the Black Mirror, he forcefully kicked forward with both legs. All the thunder arcs on his body seemed to be summoned, converging on his legs, forming two thunder dragons wrapped around them. The Black Mirror immediately felt a huge lethal threat and yelled in terror, "Get away!" Its humanoid body of black mist suddenly dispersed, reforming into a mass of black mist that heavily wrapped the mirror. It shouted in panic and anger, "You can't hurt me! Even a mid-stage core formation martial artist can't break through the black mist I've been cultivating for years." However, its fears escalated quickly, because as Jiang Fan's feet came down, an unimaginably terrifying force shook its body of black mist. And what made it despair even more? The two thunder dragons, carrying a destructive aura, came crashing down. Poof, the black mist it prided itself on was pierced as if it were made of paper, revealing the true body of the Black Mirror. The remaining thunder dragons crashed heavily into the mirror's surface. "Ah!" The Black Mirror was immediately blasted away. From inside came a heartrending scream, as if it had suffered an incredibly severe injury. The Black Mirror kept rolling and thumping on the ground, indicating the being hidden within was in immense pain. Jiang Fan landed and said calmly, "I forgot to tell you. This is my thunder technique." Chapter 335. Chapter 335 Pig Teammate 3 Pure Thunder Shadow. The first style, Thunder Dragon Lightning Leg. It was a leg technique designed specifically to break through defenses. The defenses of the 5th level of core formation could easily be shattered by the power of thunder and lightning. Moreover, the black mist condensed by the Black Mirror in front of him was naturally restrained by the power of thunder and lightning. Breaking through it would be as easy as turning your hand. Crying out in agony from within the Black Mirror, a venomous voice roared, "How dare you harm me? I will skin you alive, dig out your heart, and eat you alive." Whoosh, it suddenly sprang up from the ground, rapidly shooting toward Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan's eyes narrowed. He immediately activated the Thunder Dragon Lightning Leg, prepared to kill it in one go. But just as he moved, the Black Mirror suddenly veered, shooting off diagonally upwards. Jiang Fan was taken aback, then laughed. How cunning. It was playing a feint with him. However, his eyes turned cold. "Do you think I will let you escape?" He suddenly executed his movement technique. With a speed far superior to the Black Mirror, he caught up with it and kicked it squarely on its surface. In an instant, 2 dragons charged into the mirror. A heartrending scream echoed out. "Ah, please, spare me. I will give you a secret technique never to be passed on. For the sake of both being martial artists, spare my life." The Black Mirror crashed heavily to the ground. Thick black smoke billowed from the mirror unceasingly. It was clear that the life within was gravely injured. It wouldn't be long before its demise. Realizing there was no chance of escape, it began to beg. Jiang Fan's gaze was cold. "You dare call yourself a martial artist?" Such an evil entity that devoured others to augment its own strength. Jiang Fan could not allow to live, whether to protect innocent people or to secure his own safety. He swiftly descended from the air, his legs wrapped in thunderous light, stamping fiercely on the Black Mirror. Seeing that begging for mercy was futile, facing annihilation instead. The Black Mirror roared in both fear and rage. "Even in death, I will haunt you," Jiang Fan coldly said. "After you become a ghost, I will exterminate you again." His legs came down violently. In its critically wounded state, it could not withstand this blow at all. In despair, the Black Mirror used the last bit of black mist to encase the mirror in a final struggle. Though it was useless, it was its last remaining defense. The Thunder Dragon approached, dispelling the black mist around it before even touching it. The Black Mirror let out a bitter laugh, embracing its end. But at that moment, a thin bolt of lightning, the width of a thumb, struck the Black Mirror from an oblique angle without warning. With a bang, it sent it flying. Jiang Fan's feet stamped at nothing, creating a charred pit on the ground. He quickly looked towards the Black Mirror. This faint power of lightning couldn't even penetrate the thin black mist around the Black Mirror, let alone harm it. Even so, the black mirror borrowed the force to shoot away, vanishing into the distant fog in a flash. There was no chance to pursue it. Who? Jiang Fan angrily looked towards the source of this bolt of lightning. A tall figure came rushing from a distance. It was none other than True Thunder Sect's chief disciple, Liu Qingxian. Seeing the black mirror escape without a trace, he slapped his thigh in frustration. It got away again. Just a little more and I could have killed it. Noticing Jiang Fan, he found himself being angrily stared at and laughed in vexation. I saved you and you are complaining. Do you know what that thing was? It was an evil spirit, and you dared to kick it with your bare feet. Without me, your legs would have already been sucked dry. Jiang Fan remained silent, his face stern. The surrounding disciples were also speechless. Did Liu Qingxian know what he had done? That tiny bit of lightning couldn't even penetrate the remaining thin black mist harmed by Jiang Fan, yet he claimed to have saved Jiang Fan. If he hadn't interfered, the black mirror would already have been destroyed. But Liu Qingxian didn't notice the strange expressions around him. His gaze swept over and quickly spotted Su Yining's delicate figure, hurrying over with concern. Are you all right? That black mirror was an evil spirit. It had absorbed countless years of sword qi, gaining spiritual wisdom. Its emergence now is to feed on the flesh and blood of living beings. It's fortunate I arrived in time to restrain it with the power of thunder and lightning. Otherwise, junior sister, you would have been in danger today. The danger of the black mirror was real. His desire for credit was also real. How dare he seek credit? Su Yining rolled her eyes and ignored him. She directly went to Jiang Fan's side, concerned. Are you hurt? Jiang Fan shook his head. It couldn't harm me. Su Yining felt a bit relieved. It's a pity it escaped. If it gets away, it will harm many people. She shuddered at the frightening nature of the black mirror. Its threat was no less than that of the copper-scale black centipede. Jiang Fan said, There's no need to worry. The evil spirit within that black mirror is gravely wounded and near death. Unless it absorbs fresh blood, replenishing its vitality, it won't last long, thanks to the mist. The various martial artists in Sword Forest had gathered here. That black mirror would have no disciples to absorb for blood and flesh. It wouldn't last long. Upon hearing this, Su Yining was completely reassured. Her eyes filled with a trace of admiration. She playfully reproached, You, how many more abilities do you have that I don't know about? You even managed to destroy an evil spirit. Having spent so much time together, she thought she understood Jiang Fan's methods well. But it turns out there were still things she hadn't seen. Liu Qingxian's eyes blazed with anger. Clearly, he had saved Su Yining and everyone else. But Su Yining showed no gratitude and instead thanked Jiang Fan. How absurd was that? Hey, you masked guy, Liu Qingxian coldly strode forward. Even stealing credit has limits, doesn't it? In front of elite disciples from various sects, you shamelessly grab credit like this. Do you have no shame? Everyone exchanged glances. Who was the one without shame here? A disciple from True Thunder Sect hurriedly said, Senior brother Liu, let's just drop this matter. The one truly stealing credit shamelessly was you, Liu Qingxian. You ungrateful ingrate, Liu Qingxian, angered, laughed. Someone pisses on my head and you tell me to retreat. What nonsense, he glared fiercely at Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan, however, merely glanced at him. Then with an expressionless face, he looked away. This undisguised look of disdain completely enraged Liu Qingxian. He already had issues with Jiang Fan for stealing Su Yining, and now he was grabbing credit. Narrowing his eyes, he coldly said, It seems you are very dissatisfied with me. How about a duel? At these words, the atmosphere grew tense. Disciples who had seen Jiang Fan fight showed strange expressions. Not long ago, Ling Gihai was even more arrogant than Liu Qingxian. The result was, the more arrogant he was at the start, the more miserable he was at the end. Though Liu Qingxian was stronger than Ling Gihai, his fate against Jiang Fan wouldn't likely be any better. A duel, Jiang Fan glanced at him, uninterested. You should save your strength and think about how to deal with this mist. Saying this, he seemed to sense something. His eyes suddenly turned sharp, and with a flick, his toe sent a pebble flying into the mist. Thud, a muffled sound. The pebble seemed to hit something and shattered. Next, the mist stirred. A demon emperor's daughter in a blood skirt with her hands behind her back walked out unhurriedly. The pebble had hit her shoulder and shattered into dust. But it caused no harm. Quite a powerful strike, you beast in human skin. It was said that when enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred, especially when it was the one who had defiled her. With just one look, she recognized Jiang Fan as the human clan member who had violated her in the ancient temple. Chapter 336. Chapter 336. Aren't you in the Foundation establishment realm? Her sudden appearance startled everyone present. They all braced themselves. Jiang Fan's kick just now was not light, yet this girl with her strong body showed no signs of injury. This indicated she was not simple. Moreover, her intentions were likely hostile. However, when they took a clear look at her face, they couldn't help but be incredibly amazed. Her golden hair, curled like waves, reflected dazzling gold rays in the sunlight. Her snow-white face was exquisitely beautiful, with painted eyebrows, red lips, and white teeth. In her deep-set eyes, there were two beautiful, clear blue pupils. Her figure was even more stunning, making even the female martial artists show expressions of envy. Su Yining also let out a gasp of admiration. So beautiful, almost as pretty as my sister. But immediately, she looked at Jiang Fan in confusion and said, "Did I hear it wrong just now? Did she call you a beast in human clothes?" This term would not be used lightly. Jiang Fan was puzzled. How was he a beast in human clothes? Didn't he just poison her and then flee? How could she misuse the term like that? Anyone who didn't know would think he had done something terrible to her. But this was not the point. Jiang Fan stared at the girl, narrowed his eyes, and said, "Junior sister Zhang Yuxin of the True Thunder Sect. Why don't you come and meet your senior brothers and sisters?" Lu Shi was still gazing at the beautiful girl who had suddenly appeared. Hearing this, he was stunned and frowned, saying, "Zhang Yuxin, what do you mean by this?" He looked a bit angry with a trace of irritation on his face. Su Yining said, "Senior brother Lu, this girl entered 9 Venerable City with the identity token of your senior sister Zhang Yuxin." "What?" Lu Shi was instantly furious, shouting, "Who are you? Why are you impersonating my dead junior sister Zhang Yuxin?" It turned out, on the day Leng Gu attacked Jin Yunli's team, 2 female disciples unfortunately died. One of them was Zhang Yuxin. Seeing her identity exposed, the Demon Emperor's daughter remained unhurried. She took out Zhang Yuxin's identity token with a half-smile, weighing it in her palm, and said, "Who am I? With your status, you are not worthy to know. However, because I'm in a good mood today, I'll be merciful and tell you. My name is Liu Li." As the daughter of the Demon Emperor, the name Liu Li was renowned in the demon realm. Which great demon hearing her name wouldn't stand in awe? Even many powerful beings from the human clan were extremely wary of this name. Unfortunately, she was facing a group of young men, human youths who had never had any dealings with the demon race. Therefore, including Jiang Fan, everyone reacted indifferently. This made Liu Li, who was full of pride, a bit annoyed. "A bunch of ignorant guys. Don't even recognize me?" Jiang Fan rubbed his nose. He really thought this girl was out of her mind. The name Liu Li wasn't well known. It was natural not to recognize it. Why was she getting mad? He pointed to the surrounding mist. "You released these mists, gathering us here. What is your intention? It can't be just to catch up, can it?" If it were anyone else, he would have suspected them of harboring ill intentions. But this girl clearly had some issues, making Jiang Fan unsure of her motive. "Of course, it was to kill all of you." Liu Li thought with a cold smile, but said, "I heard that the elite disciples of the 9 Sect are numerous. So, I wanted to find an opportunity to spar with you all." She understood the principle of the frog boiling in warm water. If she had immediately said she wanted to slaughter them all, they would have fled in terror. Although the mist would still guide them back, it would waste time, wouldn't it? It was better to stabilize them with the pretext of sparring. Then during the sparring, she would smash them one by one. All this effort just for a spar? Sparring? Jiang Fan felt his intelligence was being insulted. All this trouble, how could it be just for sparring? There must be other motives. Such dangerous work, Jiang Fan always took it upon himself, saying, "Senior brother Lu, you are the chief disciple of the True Thunder Sect, and the most powerful. You go first." Lu Shi wasn't a fool. He naturally understood Liu Li's so-called sparring had an ominous intent. He was just thinking of tricking Jiang Fan into testing the waters first. Unexpectedly, this bastard was even slyer than him. However, before Lu Shi could refuse, Liu Li glared at Jiang Fan with a smirk. "I think it would be better if you went first." Among this group, the one she most wanted to crush was Jiang Fan. No one knew what Jiang Fan had done to her. Even now, she still felt a throbbing pain in her abdomen. Thinking of this, she was filled with shame and anger, and her desire to kill Jiang Fan grew stronger. Jiang Fan was speechless. This woman held a grudge so deeply. Knowing he couldn't escape, he stepped forward and cupped his hands. "I deeply apologize for last night's events. But since it has already happened, I can only try to make amends. You can accept it if you wish, if not, I can't help it." "What?" Liu Li was trembling with anger. Was this something a person would say? After defiling her, just leave it at that. This shameless, selfish, despicable man. "All right, all right, all right." Liu Li pointed at Jiang Fan, her eyes blazing with fury. You better use all your strength. She swore she would smash this scum into smithereens, leaving not a single bone intact in this world. Jiang Fan had a headache. Didn't he just poison her? Why was she acting like he was the enemy of her blood feud? What kind of woman had he gotten entangled with? Facing such an aggressive opponent, Jiang Fan dared not be careless and said, You better watch out yourself. He quietly activated the dragon elephant battle body and with the top-grade armor protecting him. In a spar, at least he would be invincible. Liu Li's face turned cold, saying nothing more. She stomped her feet. The ground cracked under her step. Her figure rushed forward, compressing the air to produce crackling sounds. Jiang Fan's pupils narrowed, so fast, but he reacted in time, immediately throwing his punches like dragons. Heavenly Battle 9 forms, sky opening, with a loud shout. His physical strength at this moment was fully unleashed, enough to match a core formation realm 3rd layer without falling behind. Seeing this, Liu Li sneered inwardly. Competing in physique with me, the daughter of the Demon Emperor. Kid, let me show you the unrivaled body technique of the Demon Emperor lineage. Her 2 pink fists suddenly clenched. The air compressed with a deafening firecracker-like explosion. The 2 fists collided in an instant. The immense force generated a terrifying shockwave. Jiang Fan felt an unimaginable force, nearly knocking him off balance. A burning pain spread from his arms to his entire body. He almost doubted his own technique. Was he really using the dragon elephant battle body? He ended up in a draw with a girl, however. Liu Li was no better off. The burning pain in her fists made her grimace in pain. Her large blue eyes widened in disbelief. Aren't you at the Foundation Establishment Realm? Since when could humans at the Foundation Establishment Realm match her, the Demon Emperor's descendant, in physique? Chapter 337. Chapter 337, opening the door of friendship, Jiang Fan nodded, saying, I am at the Foundation Establishment Realm, is there a problem? Liu Li felt an urge to cough up blood. Foundation Establishment Realm, yet daring to confront her, a descendant of the Demon Emperor, was still not a problem. The more she thought, the more embarrassed she felt. If word got back to the Demon Clan, she couldn't even handle a mere Foundation Establishment human. How would she have any face to consider herself the daughter of the Demon Emperor in the future? Clenching her teeth, she muttered, I really underestimated you. But enough is enough. The bloodline of the Demon Emperor surged within her. A turbulent and incredible force of purple blood energy seeped out from her pores. It condensed on the surface of her body into a layer of tangible scales. Her bright sapphire eyes also turned into a shade of purple. Open! Her fists suddenly exerted force. Jiang Fan, who was in a stalemate, instantly felt an overwhelming force several times stronger than before surging towards him. It shook his bones, making them creak as if they were about to break. Jiang Fan was startled. He had cultivated the dragon elephant battle body, yet in front of her physique he was like paper. In a critical moment, Jiang Fan lightly tapped his toes, pulling away. At the same time, he drew the Sorrow Frost sword, striking backhandedly. Heaven and Earth Star fall! Accompanied by a thunderous boom, the powerful sword chi, combined with the extreme cold of the Sorrow Frost sword itself, swept forward. Thud-thud, making Jiang Fan's pupils constrict. The sword chi struck the scales on Liu Li's body, leaving only a shallow trace. One must know that this was a top-grade magic artifact, and the swordsmanship enhanced by the Sorrow Frost sword. Its power had increased by more than just a level. The chief disciples of the 9 sect couldn't necessarily withstand it. But it couldn't break through the strange scales on Liu Li's body, and the cold air of the Sorrow Frost sword only left a thin layer of frost on Liu Li's body. Liu Li sneered coldly, To push me to this extent, you're really something. This layer of scales was the first kind of talent from the Demon Emperor's bloodline. It greatly increased strength while sharply enhancing defenses. Even martial artists at the 5th level of core formation could not necessarily break through her scales. Not to mention a mere Foundation establishment. She seized the opportunity to strike. Her rapidly moving purple silhouette pressed through the air with a wailing sound. In an instant, she arrived in front of Jiang Fan, coldly saying, Pay for what you've done. Jiang Fan did not dodge. After a brief consideration, he resolutely faced her. Moreover, his speed was even more exaggerated than Liu Li's. His legs flickered with intermittent thunder light. When they got close, Jiang Fan leapt into the air. He stomped fiercely towards Liu Li with his legs. 2 beams of thunder light like thunder dragons slammed hard into her chest. Relying on the talent from the Demon Emperor's bloodline, Liu Li didn't take Jiang Fan's counterattack seriously. Her fist suddenly clammed down, containing unmatched power, smashing fiercely towards Jiang Fan's legs. This strike would blast his legs, along with the lower half of his body, into smithereens. Say goodbye to this world? Liu Li's eyes were cold, starting now. I will open a grate, before she finished speaking. On collision, her expression drastically changed. The thunder dragons from Jiang Fan's legs turned out to be 2 bolts of lightning. Her whole body was paralyzed instantly. Immediately, the thunder dragons broke through her arms, reaching straight to her chest. The proud defense of the Demon Emperor's bloodline, the layer of purple scales, could only withstand for an instant before giving off a burnt scent. Crack! The powerful thunder light pierced through the scales, striking hard at her chest. Ah! Liu Li screamed, flying several yards away and crashing harshly onto the ground. But the pain on her body was nothing. The terrifying power of thunder and lightning rushed inside her, roasting her internal organs. She felt as if her insides were burning. Clutching her stomach, she twisted in agony. At the same time, Jiang Fan seized the opportunity to strike further. The cold and menacing long sword pointed at Liu Li's neck, and he said, I concede. Liu Li no longer had the mind to care about winning or losing. She could feel her condition, extremely terrible. Even though she was a descendant of the Demon Emperor with such severe internal injuries, she would not survive. Her face was full of disbelief. Death came so fast and so suddenly. With just one strike, her vitality was snatched away. A trace of bitterness crossed her heart. She only meant to bully the human clan's elite disciples a bit, but unexpectedly she ran into this freak Jiang Fan. The power of that kick rivaled some of the sect elders. She thought of how he took her virginity first, then took her life. Her heart was filled with sorrow. To think the dignified daughter of the Demon Emperor would meet such an end. It was truly pathetic, but just then, Jiang Fan sheathed his sword. He lifted her up and made her sit. Then he took out a revitalizing pill, stuffing it into her mouth. The pill melted upon entering her mouth, turning into strands of sweet spiritual liquid merging into her injured internal organs. Liu Li stared in a daze. You are saving me. Who cares for your saving? Crocodile tears, humph. Jiang Fan smiled awkwardly. A fight that almost took her life. Before using the Thunder Dragon Lightning Leg, he had hesitated, afraid of its overwhelming power. But this woman was pressing aggressively, leaving him no choice. He didn't expect it would injure her so badly. Sorry, the new cultivation technique's power was beyond control, Jiang Fan said. Thud, Liu Li really coughed up blood. Already injured, she was now infuriated to the point of spitting blood by his beyond control. Was Jiang Fan still holding back his strength? He hadn't given his all. If he had gone all out, would she have been stomped to death just now? Was this really the daughter of the Demon Emperor fighting a Foundation establishment human? Nobody would believe it if told. Shame and anger filled her. She pushed Jiang Fan away, saying, I don't need your saving. Besides, you can't save me. But then she noticed something. Her stomach gradually stopped hurting. Instead, it was itching, a sign of wound healing. She was shocked. What did you give me to consume? The effect is miraculous. She had seen human clans healing spirit pills before, but nothing as extraordinary as this. Seeing her life being saved, Jiang Fan let out a sigh of relief, although he didn't know the exact identity of the girl. But until she showed clear malice, it wasn't suitable to take her life. Better to hand her over to the 9 sect higher-ups for judgment. He stared at her, asking, What did you just say? Starting now, I will open a grate. Liu Li's expression froze. Beads of guilty, cold sweat appeared on her forehead. She stammered, I meant to say open a great door of friendship. Yes, open a great door of friendship. Open a great massacre door. Not to mention she was severely wounded, even in her prime state. With Jiang Fan, this freak present, she couldn't say it anymore. She could only step back and say open a great door of friendship. Jiang Fan listened, flicked her forehead, making her yelp in pain, and harshly said, What are you doing? Jiang Fan annoyedly replied, Do you think I am an idiot? Were you trying to say open a great massacre just now? Her fierce expression earlier had nothing to do with friendship. Liu Li was feeling guilty but stubbornly replied, I didn't say that. I wanted to open a great door of friendship, believe it or not. Seeing her rogue-like attitude, Jiang Fan chuckled, I can't be bothered if you are lying. I'll hand you over to the 9 sect higher-ups. Someone will interrogate you. For now, clear this fog, 9 sect higher-ups. Liu Li's heart skipped a beat, feeling panicked. Her little tricks were more than enough against ordinary 9 sect elite disciples, but completely inadequate against those strong in the 9 sect. She would be discovered as the daughter of the demon emperor in no time. Her situation would be troublesome then. "I am talking to you," Jiang Fan urged, flicking her forehead again. Her smooth and fair forehead turned red from the flicking, and hurting, Liu Li snapped out of it. She covered her forehead, gritting her teeth at Jiang Fan. She had mentally cursed Jiang Fan countless times, but only in her mind. She didn't dare to resist, obediently opening her small cherry mouth, spitting out a demon core the size of an eye. As the demon core appeared, the surrounding fog quickly drew back into the inner core, connecting the sword forest back with the outside world. Jiang Fan breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing Liu Li about to swallow back the demon core, he snatched it, saying, "This item is beyond you, let me keep it safe for you." He deftly tucked it into his bosom. Liu Li was startled. She quickly covered her head, showing a flustered look. Chapter 338. Chapter 338, the feud has intensified. She was able to walk freely among the human clan. It was all thanks to this mirage demon pill, which concealed her demon race traits. How could she have thought that Jiang Fan would be so dishonorable? He took the mirage demon pill for himself. "Give it back to me." Liu Li clawed and tried to snatch it back, but Jiang Fan easily held her forehead with one hand. She flailed her small hands but couldn't reach Jiang Fan's chest. "I told you I'm just keeping it for you. Once your identity is clarified and confirmed that you're not malevolent, I'll return it to you." Su Yining, standing beside them, rolled her eyes. Muttering, "Just say you're taking it. Who are you fooling with keeping it?" Anyone with a discerning eye could see. This woman's identity was definitely problematic. Hand her over to the Nine Sect for investigation. Even if she survived, she would never see the light of day again. How could she come back to retrieve this demon pill? Jiang Fan had calculated this, taking her valuable items in advance, to prevent the Nine Sect investigators from getting them. "You're shameless." Woo woo woo, Liu Li's grievances turned into tears. Was she really encountering her nemesis? First, Jiang Fan took her chastity, then severely injured her, and now he took her treasure. The outcome she envisioned when coming to the human clan's territory was definitely not like this. Jiang Fan was speechless. "You started the trouble yourself, now you're feeling aggrieved?" Creating mist to trap the Nine Sect disciples. If he had slashed her with his sword, no one would have said he was wrong. After all, these were the Nine Sect's most elite disciples. If something happened to them, it would shake the foundation of the Nine Sect. Looking at the road reappearing not far ahead, Jiang Fan said, "I won't make things difficult for you. Come with me to see the Nine Sect higher-ups. If you are innocent, they will give you fair treatment." With that, he got up to leave. But at this moment, several powerful auras suddenly appeared deep within the myriad sword sect. An extremely sharp sword chi pierced through the sky, striking a cloud. At the same time, an angry hum came from within the myriad sword sect. "Which demon dares to linger above my myriad sword sect?" With a swish, the seemingly ordinary thick cloud was shattered by the sword chi, revealing a giant black tiger hidden within. It stood on two birds, glaring coldly in Su Qingxian's direction, speaking in human language. "Monster Su, I have no time to play with you." It turned its head, staring at the sword forest, its gaze landing on Liu Li. Seeing her pale face, unstable aura, and blood at the corner of her lips, it couldn't help but become furious. "Which whelp dares to harm the young master of my race?" Chirp. The two birds beneath it also screeched in anger, diving into the sword forest, heading straight for Liu Li. Seeing this, Liu Li was overjoyed. Sky devouring? Truly a blessing in disguise. She quickly broke free from Jiang Fan and ran towards the sky-devouring tiger. Jiang Fan took one look at the sky-devouring tiger, his heart racing. This tiger's oppressive presence was far more terrifying than Leng Gu. A fear rising from the depths of his soul swept through his body, paralyzing him, making him dare not act rashly. He had a strong intuition that if he dared to grab Liu Li, he would die the next moment. Everyone else was also stunned by this terrifying aura, not daring to move. Fear filled their eyes, in their eyes. The sky-devouring tiger, stepping on two birds, swept past the ground, took Liu Li away in its jaws and tossed her onto its back. At close range, the sky-devouring tiger discovered that Liu Li's internal injuries were far more severe than they appeared. Her internal organs were all destroyed. Furious, its blood-red eyes glared at the elite disciples on the ground, roaring, "Who did it?" The roar was earth-shattering. The horrible gust alone was like a tornado, tearing large sections of the sword forest apart. A group of elite disciples struggled to resist, barely able to stand steady. Their eyes filled with fear, trembling all over. In front of such a being, they were like ants, powerless to resist. Liu Li was finally free, feeling at ease. She pointed furiously at Jiang Fan. It was him. Capture him for me, bring him back to the demon race. I will make sure to thoroughly deal with him. Liu Li's emotions were extremely agitated, thinking of the pride and confidence she had when first arriving at the human clan's territory. Now she was like a stray dog, as miserable as could be. If she didn't avenge Jiang Fan, she feared she would develop a heart demon towards him. It's you, the sky-devouring tiger roared, diving down again. Jiang Fan's heart pounded. How could he, a mere foundation establishment realm, withstand such an existence? But sitting idly by, he couldn't do it. Gritting his teeth, he decisively pulled out the purple sword and slashed it in the air. The invisible sword Qi, with an unstoppable sharpness, swung towards the sky-devouring tiger. The sky-devouring tiger's expression changed drastically, quickly raising a paw to swipe. Clang! Sparks flew as its paw was sliced, breaking with a sound. This startled the sky-devouring tiger, who exclaimed, "This kid has a divine weapon in hand." It could tell Jiang Fan was struggling to wield this sword. Seizing the opportunity before Jiang Fan could swing a second time, it spat a mouthful of black flame. Jiang Fan's face changed. Facing such an opponent, there was no chance for the slightest luck. Their combat experience was definitely not weak. Fortunately, his earlier sword strike had delayed the sky-devouring tiger, giving Su Qingyang the chance to strike. Swish! A lightning-fast sword shadow pierced through the sky. The sky-devouring tiger's expression drastically changed, not caring about Jiang Fan anymore. Carrying Liu Li, it leaped up, barely avoiding the terrifying flying sword. But the two birds beneath it weren't as lucky. They were killed on the spot, blood spilling everywhere. With nothing under its paws, the sky-devouring tiger crashed to the ground. Its eyes showed anxiety. "Young master, we can't delay any longer. Su Qingyang will be here soon, and there are also the great elders of each sect. If we get held up, we won't be able to leave," the implication being. Forget about this troublesome boy. Liu Li was extremely unwilling, but knew this was not the time to act rashly. She glared viciously at Jiang Fan. "You just wait. I won't let you off. I absolutely won't let you off. One day when my demon race conquers the Ninth Sect, even if I have to scour every inch of ground, I will drag you out." Jiang Fan, now relieved, exhaled deeply. Listening to Liu Li's threats, he dismissively said, "As if the demon race is your personal property, conquering the Ninth Sect at will." Liu Li was stunned. Then she revealed a deep sneer. "Boy, you still don't know who I am, do you?" She parted her golden hair, revealing a pair of horns no human would have. "I am the daughter of the demon emperor, Liu Li. So, do you think the demon race is my family property?" Hiss. All the elite disciples of the Ninth Sect present gasped. "Who?" "The daughter of the demon emperor, the daughter of the supreme ruler who commanded millions of demons, a princess of the demon race, second only to the demon emperor." Jiang Fan's vision darkened, his body swayed. "What? The one he poisoned and knocked out yesterday, beat up today, and stole her treasure. Was actually the daughter of the demon emperor." This joke was a bit too much. Chapter 339. Chapter 339. The Wrath of the Myriad Sword Sect Master. "What? Afraid?" Liu Li gritted her teeth and laughed coldly. Jiang Fan steadied himself. He straightened his clothes and politely said, "I did not know it was the esteemed demon emperor princess. Forgive my offense, please be magnanimous." Liu Li laughed angrily. "Magnanimous? I am not that generous, after treating her like this and that and then like this in the end. Still expecting her to forgive? Dream on." Jiang Fan was helpless. He took out the Mirage demon pill and said, "Here is your demon pill back. From now on we are even, a clean slate. Having met you, it was just my bad luck. Seriously. Meeting this woman, nothing good happened. First, he was forced to take care of her for a whole night. Then he got trapped in the sword forest by her, delaying his practice. Just now, he almost got caught by the sky-devouring tiger. Such rotten luck to encounter this lady. But right after hearing his words, Liu Li's anger surged up. She screamed furiously, "A clean slate? You dog, you did that kind of thing to me and still want a clean slate." The sky-devouring tiger sensed Su Qingyang's powerful aura approaching rapidly. It dared not delay, leaping onto the horizon and leaving. Liu Li turned her head, glaring hatefully at Jiang Fan, and snorted, "That Mirage demon pill, I don't need it back. The next time I come, I'll take your head along with me." Jiang Fan's face darkened. He felt an urge to jump and curse. "You, a daughter of the demon emperor, don't stay in the demon race's territory properly and come to the human clan's territory. Aren't you digging a hole for people?" He said angrily, "Don't want it." Fine, I didn't want to give it back anyway. You don't even know my true face. If I take off the mask, where will you find me? It seemed she heard this. As she was about to disappear on the horizon, Liu Li paused slightly. She screamed in vexation, "Sky-devouring tiger, go back. I'll fight him to the end." Indeed, just as Jiang Fan said, she didn't know Jiang Fan's true appearance. To seek revenge, where could she possibly find him? Standing right in front of her, she wouldn't recognize him. The sky-devouring tiger dared not return, disappearing with Liu Li into the distance. Only Liu Li's frantic screams lingered between heaven and earth. Su Yining wiped the cold sweat from her forehead and said, "You managed to drive this demon emperor's daughter mad." Jiang Fan replied in annoyance. She asked for it. She, a good demon emperor's daughter, came to spar with me. Who should I talk to about this? Su Yining couldn't help but laugh out loud. It had to be said, Jiang Fan was indeed wronged. No one would imagine such a wild act from this demon emperor's daughter. To come to the Myriad Sword Sect's sword forest, and happen to be caught and beaten by Jiang Fan. However, Su Yining soon stopped laughing. She queried, "But from her words, it seems like you did something to her?" She had long sensed something amiss. Liu Li's hatred for Jiang Fan was more like that between men and women. Not just simple enemies. Jiang Fan poked her forehead. "Are you also brainless like her?" "Am I that kind of person?" Su Yining rubbed her forehead and said sourly, "Maybe not with others. But this demon emperor's daughter is a world-class beauty, even surpassing my sister. No man can resist." Jiang Fan didn't bother to explain further. The more he explained, the worse it got. Moreover, he had no time to explain, because many powerful auras were approaching rapidly. Jiang Fan quickly wrapped up the purple sword. Then he found the claw of the sky-devouring tiger he had severed. The silver-winged Thunderbird's talons had fetched him a top-grade magic artifact before. Not to mention this terrifying sky-devouring tiger. He didn't hesitate to collect it. After that, several incredibly strong auras swept past them, chasing after the sky-devouring tiger. They should be the supreme elders of the Myriad Sword Sect. Shortly after, the great elders of various sects arrived one after another. Finding that their disciples were safe and sound, without even a single injury, they all sighed with relief. "Thank goodness you are all right," Liu Qingxian sighed. The moment the sky-devouring tiger descended, her heart nearly stopped. It was a blessing they were unharmed. "Not only are we unharmed, Great Elder, look at my realm." Jai Ryu proudly released a bit of her spiritual power. Liu Qingxian was startled. "Foundation Establishment Realm 7th Layer," Jai Ryu replied. "Yes, thanks to Jiang, No One Shadow Guard, who secured us a top-grade cultivation site. I and some fellow disciples have made great progress." The other 4 disciples of the Desire Sect displayed their Foundation Establishment Realm's 9th Layer cultivation. This made Liu Qingxian overjoyed. She turned and bowed repeatedly to Jiang Fan. "You have shown such kindness to my Desire Sect that we have no way to repay." Feng Guchan, observing this, quickly cast a burning gaze towards Yunxi and the others. The latter looked grim. "We were late. The top-grade cultivation site was already taken." She and several disciples showed their cultivation. Although the progress was good, similar to the expected cultivation effect of the Sword Forest, it paled in comparison to the Desire Sect. Feng Guchan gave Yunxi a reproachful look. Had she not hesitated initially, would the benefits have been taken by the Desire Sect? However, when he noticed that several Myriad Sword Sect disciples had made almost no progress, he couldn't help but feel ease. The arriving Myriad Sword Sect master looked displeased. "What happened to you all?" Even if the best site was taken by Jiang Fan, there should have been another top-grade cultivation site, right? Liu Qingxian didn't help them secure it. A disciple of the Myriad Sword Sect spoke up with a bitter face, explaining the situation. The Myriad Sword Sect master, upon hearing this, cast a stern look at Jiang Fan. "Which sect's disciple are you? A bit too meddlesome, aren't you?" His anger was within Jiang Fan's expectation. Jiang Fan responded unhurriedly. "If Liu Qingxian hadn't harbored ill intentions and led the disciples astray, how could I have taken the lead?" The Myriad Sword Sect master diverted the topic. "I meant, why did you obstruct Liu Qingxian? I will have a word with your sect about your meddling." Jiang Fan remained poised. "Yes, I interfered. Should I have let the evil spirit devour the elite disciples present? Also let the demon emperor princess slaughter all the elite disciples? Then your Myriad Sword Sect would have no time to blame me. Is that possible?" The Myriad Sword Sect master looked at a disciple. "Is this true?" That disciple dared not lie. Report to the sect master that evil spirit was indeed formidable. It was thanks to this senior brother's extraordinary strength that it was severely injured and driven away. The Demon Emperor Princess, under the guise of sparring, was also severely injured and captured by this senior brother. Without him, we might have been in great peril. The great elders of the various sects regarded Jiang Fan with astonishment. They couldn't help but guess that the evil spirit wasn't that strong, and the Demon Emperor Princess's strength was ordinary. After all, how capable could a Foundation Establishment Realm disciple be? The Myriad Sword Sect Master seemed to think the same, frowning at Jiang Fan and said, "The evil spirit and the Demon Emperor Princess didn't have much ability. You exaggerated. Besides, with my disciple Ling Gihai there, why would you need to act? He could easily solve it." He paused and then looked around, frowning. Where is Ling Gihai this time? Ling Gihai was to redeem himself by leading his junior disciples to occupy the top-grade cultivation sites. But the mess he made, how could it not make him angry, on the outskirts of the crowd? Ling Gihai hobbled over, using a stick as a crutch, nervously saying, "Master, your disciple is here." The Myriad Sword Sect Master was shocked. "How did you get so injured?" He looked half dead. Ling Gihai reluctantly said, Disciple was wounded by a girl in a blood dress." A girl in a blood dress? That Demon Emperor Princess? Wait, the Myriad Sword Sect Master was stunned. Wasn't she supposed to be not that strong? Jiang Fan could capture her easily. How strong could she be? Chapter 340. Chapter 340. Meritorious official Ling Gihai said with shame, "Master, there is something you don't know. This woman is extremely strange, although she doesn't know any spells. Her physique is terrifyingly strong. Even when she stood still, my sword couldn't break through her defense." Hiss! The many great elders who were unaware of the situation only now realized the extraordinariness of this demon emperor's daughter. Ling Gihai was at the second level of core formation and studied under the Myriad Sword Sect Master, cultivating the most lethal swordsmanship. Even when he attacked with all his might, he couldn't harm the demon emperor's daughter. Everyone then realized how dangerous this woman was. If Jiang Fan hadn't captured her, who among the elite disciples of all the sects present could escape her deadly hands? The Myriad Sword Sect Master's face changed repeatedly. Still doubtful of Jiang Fan's strength, he asked, "Then how did you capture this woman?" He highly suspected that Jiang Fan had used some underhanded means. Jiang Fan replied expressionlessly, "Of course I captured her with my hands. Could it have been with my mouth?" The facts were right in front of him, yet the Myriad Sword Sect Master still held a prejudice. He naturally stopped being polite. "You!" The Myriad Sword Sect Master was enraged. A mere junior disciple dared to defy him. What angered him more was that he, as a sect master, couldn't argue with a junior, but why was Ling Gihai standing beside him silently like a fool? This was the time for him to come out and uphold his master's dignity. "Gihai, this junior brother saved the disciples of the 9 sects. Check if he is injured. If he leaves with injuries, won't people outside say that our Myriad Sword Sect doesn't know how to treat guests?" The Myriad Sword Sect Master voiced directly. These words made several of the sect's great elders frown. Every martial artist has their secrets. Forcibly inspecting one's body without consent is seen as a provocation. This is a basic tacit understanding among martial artists. The Myriad Sword Sect Master wanted his disciple to force Jiang Fan to take action and give him a show of strength. Ling Gihai shivered. How could he dare to fight Jiang Fan? Before Jiang Fan's cultivation, he had not been his opponent and had been strongly suppressed. Now, with his greatly increased cultivation, he was even less of a match. He didn't want to lose face in front of the great elders and elite disciples of the 9 sects. He quickly cupped his hands and said, "Reporting to Master." "I dare not." "Dare not?" The Myriad Sword Sect Master's expression froze. In front of the great elders and elite disciples of the 9 sects, his most proud disciple actually became a turtle hiding in its shell. He couldn't help but darken his face. "Say that again?" Ling Gihai shrank his neck, his mouth full of bitterness. Being scolded by his master was better than losing face greatly. He cupped his hands again with a bitter face. "I have fought with this junior brother. His strength is far above mine. I am not qualified to inspect him." This time, the few great elders couldn't remain calm. With eyes carrying a few degrees of surprise, they looked at Jiang Fan. In the current world, which prodigy didn't have a bit of arrogance, it was rare to admit being inferior to someone. Ling Gihai actually defied his master's order just to admit his inferiority to this person. It was evident that this person's strength had a crushing superiority over Ling Gihai. Everyone finally understood. This person capturing the Demon Emperor's daughter was not due to coincidence, luck, or means. Instead, he saved everyone through his own abilities. The Myriad Sword Sect Master stared at Jiang Fan, his eyes sharp. "Take off your mask." "As the Sect Master, I must confirm which sect you belong to." Since when did such an outstanding disciple emerge from the 9 sects without his knowledge? Jiang Fan squinted slightly. This Myriad Sword Sect Master truly did not adhere to any principles. Did he believe Jiang Fan had no elders from his sect to protect him and thus could bully him? "Myriad Sword Sect Master, you have gone too far." Ling Jinghu stepped forward. Regardless of Jiang Fan's past kindness towards her and the Desire sect, even without this connection, she couldn't stand to see a senior bully a junior like this. This junior brother saved the elite of the 9 sects, sparing your Myriad Sword sect from a huge trouble. It's precisely the time for you to give him a rich reward. Yet you deliberately avoid this point and press him aggressively. What is your intention? The other sect's great elders, thinking of their elite disciples nearly being buried in Sword Forest, also harbor some criticism, so they all chimed in, trumpeting a shift of fervor among the crowd. The Myriad Sword Sect Master's expression changed, and he quickly cupped his hands. "Look at me, I almost forgot about this. Sorry everyone, I was shocked by today's events, lost my composure, and just asked a few more questions. This junior brother made a great contribution, saving the elite of the 9 sects and also saving my Myriad Sword Sect. Naturally, my Myriad Sword Sect won't be stingy." Then, he smiled at Jiang Fan. "Do you lack anything on the martial path? As the sect master, I will do my best to fulfill your wish." Jiang Fan secretly despised him. It sounded nice. If no one had stood up for him, would the Myriad Sword Sect Master have given a reward? If he hadn't detained him for a thorough interrogation, it would have been a blessing. Of course, he deserved the reward. He wouldn't be modest. However, he didn't lack pills, cultivation techniques, talismans, or magical treasures. Thinking about it, he glanced at the woman beside him, Su Yining, his eyes brightening, and said, "My friend here has no suitable swordsmanship. Could the Myriad Sword Sect Master bestow a swordsmanship technique for her to cultivate?" Ah, the great elders looked surprised. Jiang Fan had made such a great contribution, the reward would not be small. Yet he gave it to the woman beside him. Seeing the woman dignified and exceptionally beautiful, they could understand. Heroes have always loved beautiful women. No wonder, the female disciples from various sects all showed envious expressions. "Is she Su Yining from Green Cloud Sect? Just a bit prettier. In terms of family background, martial path, and experience, she's no better than me. Why does this senior brother particularly favor her?" Under the gaze of the audience, Su Yining blushed slightly. She had never imagined that one day she would be envied by the elite female prodigies she looked up to in the 9 sects. The fortunes of life are truly marvelous, but she understood that all of this was thanks to the No One Shadow Guard. Looking sideways at this familiar figure, she bit her lip with gratitude filling her heart and said, "Thank you, but you should request a reward for yourself." "I can't accept such a big reward." Jiang Fan smiled indifferently and said, "You and I are not outsiders, no need to be polite." He then cupped his hands toward the Myriad Sword Sect Master and said, "I humbly ask the Sect Master to bestow a cultivation technique." The Myriad Sword Sect Master didn't mind. Whether given to Jiang Fan or Su Yining, it made no difference to him. After a brief thought, he took out a swordsmanship manual with a fairly new cover and said, "Normally, the Myriad Sword Sect does not transmit its swordsmanship techniques outside. In light of your great contribution, I will make an exception and pass on this mid-grade profound-level swordsmanship to you. Remember, you can only cultivate it yourself and must not transmit it to others." A look of surprise showed in Su Yining's eyes. She gratefully accepted it. "Thank you, Myriad Sword Sect Master." The surrounding elite disciples looked envious. As elites, they didn't lack mid-grade profound-level cultivation techniques. Some had even started cultivating high-grade profound levels. The issue was, this was the Myriad Sword Sect's mid-grade profound-level cultivation technique. Its swordsmanship strength was unparalleled by the other 8 sects. Su Yining's swordsmanship prowess would greatly improve as a result. Jiang Fan nodded. Although the level was a bit low, this was indeed the highest swordsmanship the Myriad Sword Sect could offer. Anything higher would be highly confidential, not likely to be passed to an outsider. He was about to call Su Yining and leave the place. Suddenly, several strong auras returned. Figures appeared. It was Su Qingxian and others returning from chasing the sky-devouring tiger. "Are there any casualties?" Su Qingxian asked solemnly, showing that the chase had not been smooth. His top-grade magic sword was lost, and his strength wasn't at its peak. It was indeed challenging to capture the sky-devouring tiger. The Myriad Sword Sect Master didn't dare to hide anything and briefly explained the situation here. "Captured the Demon Emperor's daughter?" Su Qingxian said in surprise. "This girl with the bloodline of the Demon Emperor isn't easy to deal with. Later, remember to credit the elder who acted." He instinctively assumed it was the Myriad Sword Sect elder who acted timely to capture the Demon Emperor's daughter. The Myriad Sword Sect Master hesitated for a moment, then carefully said, "Reporting to the Supreme Elder. The one who acted wasn't an elder from our sect. It was a disciple." Chapter 341. Chapter 341 Stingy Disciple. Su Qingxian showed a look of surprise. "Which sect's disciple is this incredible?" The disciples who came to the Sword Forest for advanced training were all around the 8th layer of foundation establishment from various sects. But the Demon Emperor's daughter was far beyond this level. Even if an elder at the 5th level of core formation came personally, it was uncertain if they could capture her. The Myriad Sword Sect Master somewhat reluctantly pointed at Jiang Fan. "It's this disciple." He felt extremely regretful. If only the one who achieved this merit was Ling Gihai. What a rare opportunity it would be to show off in front of Su Qingxian. "Oh." Su Qingxian looked in the direction he pointed. His eyes paused, then he laughed wryly. Zhou Kitten also looked over curiously. Upon seeing, she exclaimed, "Why is it you kid?" Supreme Elder Sun was also present, somewhat surprised by the reactions of the two Supreme Elders, then suddenly realized, "This kid is," he quickly swallowed the words, "the one who exchanged the Lengu demon core." It was better not to publicize this matter. At this moment, the great elders present were thoroughly moved. How come the Supreme Elders of the Myriad Sword Sect actually knew this boy? The Myriad Sword Sect Master was also stunned. "Do you 3 Supreme Elders know him?" Su Qingxian smiled without answering. "Not only do we know him." "Isn't that right, little friend?" Jiang Fan also looked at Su Qingxian in astonishment. It took him a moment to realize, smiling bitterly. "Senior Su, you hid it from me quite well." It turned out that the old man in front of him was the famous great Supreme Elder of the Myriad Sword Sect, Su Qingxian. All the way along, he had always regarded him as an elder of some sect. Su Qingxian chuckled. "You're not bad either. Old man was completely kept in the dark by you. I thought you were just an ordinary divine doctor. Didn't expect you to hide such great ability. Not to mention having collected so many great demon cores. Even the Demon Emperor's daughter fell into his hands." Su Qingxian prided himself on being a good judge of character, but unexpectedly he misjudged this time. Jiang Fan said awkwardly, "Senior overpraises, it was just luck to capture that demoness." Su Qingxian laughed heartily, pointing at him. "Supreme Elder Zhou, look at this sect's disciple, and then look at the ones in our sect." Zhou Kitten wholeheartedly agreed, saying, "Kid, enough with the modesty. That demoness dared to single-handedly trap the prodigies and elites of the 9 sect. She naturally possessed the strength to annihilate you all by herself. How could it be mere luck to capture her?" She spoke. She glanced at Ling Gihai and a few disciples of the Myriad Sword Sect, sighing with envy. If someone else had such skills, they'd plaster it on their forehead for the world to see. But you didn't even let people know your appearance or name. The great elders present showed complex expressions. What Zhou Kitten said about the disciples of the Myriad Sword Sect also applied to the prodigies in their sects. Each displayed their full potential without restraint, desperate to make a name and be known by the world, completely ignorant of the concept that a prominent tree is the first to be blown down by the wind. Jiang Fan was helpless. "Supreme Elder Zhou, please don't overly praise this junior." He somewhat regretted not leaving earlier. Su Qingxian patted his shoulder, full of praise. "No matter what, you saved the disciples of the 9 sect and indirectly saved the Myriad Sword Sect. What reward do you desire?" Jiang Fan hurriedly said. "Thanks to Senior Su's care, your esteemed sect's master has already rewarded me." The Myriad Sword Sect Master secretly wiped away a cold sweat. This boy actually knew the Supreme Elders and had a good relationship with them. Fortunately, he stopped in time and did not make things difficult for him, or it would have been troublesome. He cupped his hands with a smile. "Supreme Elder Su," as he said, "I have already bestowed upon his female companion a secret swordsmanship of our sect." "Oh?" Su Qingxian followed his gaze and saw Su Yining. Only then did he remember how Jiang Fan had taken special care of her along the way. Presumably, they had a deep relationship. He nodded slowly, asking, "Which sword scripture?" The Myriad Sword Sect Master replied without hesitation, "It's the mid-level profound sword technique, Jade made in true scripture, most suitable for such female disciples to cultivate. He had thought it through thoroughly before bestowing this technique, just enough to match Jiang Fan's merits and suitable for a girl to practice. Anyone would find it impeccable. Who knew? As soon as Su Qingyang heard this, he raised his eyebrows. Only mid-level profound? How stingy! Give her the illusion destruction sword scripture. What? Not to mention the myriad sword sect master was shocked. Even the outer sect's great elders were taken aback. The famous illusion destruction sword scripture was one of the myriad sword sect's top-tier lower earth-level sword techniques. Only the Supreme Elders, Sect Master, and Great Elders could cultivate it. Other elders didn't even have the right to read it. How could it be bestowed to a girl from the Green Cloud Sect? Su Yining's delicate body trembled, and she hurriedly bowed, saying, "Senior Su, please take back the order. This sword scripture this junior dares not covet." What a joke. The earth-level techniques of the Myriad Sword Sect, how could she be fit to cultivate it? The Myriad Sword Sect Master also anxiously said, "Supreme Elder Su, this must not be. The sect's elders will have objections." Giving an earth-level sword technique to an outsider, what kind of joke was that? Joe Kidden's gaze remained calm, saying indifferently, "Any elder with objections can come to me." Even the mid-level Earth 9 poison true scripture was given away. Why care about one lower Earth-level illusion destruction sword scripture? Supreme Elder Sun glanced at Jiang Fan, then also said, "Follow Supreme Elder Su's instructions." He understood Su Qingyang's intention, to repay Jiang Fan's life-saving grace onto this girl. If not for Jiang Fan, the Myriad Sword Sect would have lost a top-tier combatant. Such a loss, even 10 illusion destruction sword scriptures could not make up for it. Rewarding her this technique was not excessive. The Myriad Sword Sect Master was stunned. He naturally understood this went far beyond simple rewards. It was Su Qingyang taking special care of Su Yining for Jiang Fan's sake. But why? Who was this masked disciple to deserve such favor from the three Supreme Elders? Unwilling but helplessly, he reluctantly took out a perfectly sealed jade scroll and handed it to Su Yining, reiterating again and again, "Remember, only you can practice it. Absolutely must not be passed on." Su Yining, overwhelmed by favor, dared not accept. She looked at Jiang Fan with a face full of helplessness. "Supreme Elder Su's goodwill, you better accept it," Jiang Fan said gently. Only then did Su Yining tremblingly accept the jade scroll, holding it tightly in her hands, afraid it might fall and break. Seeing her accept it, Su Qingyang felt genuinely gratified. "Little friend, we shall meet again. I hope to see you shine on the beast-tide battlefield." Jiang Fan hurriedly cupped his hands, respectfully seeing off Senior Su, Senior Zhou, and Senior Sun. Su Qingyang nodded, led the Supreme Elders, and disappeared into fleeting shadows, leaving behind a crowd full of sighs. The great elders from various sects looked at Jiang Fan with a hint of reverence in their eyes. They all wanted to know the true face behind the mask. Even more, they wanted to know which sect cultivated such an incredible disciple. Jiang Fan dared not stay any longer. He cupped his hands towards Su Yining. "Junior sister Su, we part ways here." Immersed in the shock of the earth-level technique, Su Yining suddenly came to her senses. Her beautiful face instantly showed a bit of paleness. The heart that was just filled with excitement quickly turned empty, an indescribable sense of loss. Although she had long anticipated that they would separate after the Sword Forest. But she still found it too sudden, too sudden. "Then where are you going?" Su Yining was silent for a while, finally asking in a trembling voice. She did not ask him to stay. Both had their own paths destined to part. A purple shadow flashed in Jiang Fan's mind as he said, "I plan to visit the Giant Sect. Junior sister Su, we shall meet again if fate allows." Su Yining waved her hand, forcing a smile. "Farewell, MHMM." Jiang Fan nodded, turning to leave. He walked far, suddenly hearing Su Yining's faint voice. Turning back, the silhouette was already gone. Only faintly came a cry tinged with sobs. "Take care." Jiang Fan's face showed a hint of melancholy. A moment later, he tapped his toes and turned into a streak of light, leaving. Only a long sigh remained. "You too." Su Yining. Chapter 342. Chapter 342 Spiritual Artifact of the Black Mirror. Chapter 342. Chapter 342 Spiritual Artifact of the Black Mirror Sword Forest. Su Yining paused and looked into the distance. The mist in her eyes condensed into sparkling droplets. They slid silently down her cheeks. In fact, what she wanted to ask was not where no one's shadow guard had gone. It was when would she see him again, but she ultimately didn't ask. because there was still a vague shadow in her heart, flickering in and out. Ling Jinghu watched the scene, vaguely understanding her state of mind. He stepped forward and whispered, "Weak water 3,000, just take a spoonful. What should be let go, let it go. The road of life is long, travel lightly to go far." Su Yining wiped away her tears. There was a hint of bitterness on her face. "Thank you, Elder Ling, for your wise words. I will use my heart to understand." Ling Jinghu shook his head slightly. From her expression, he knew she wouldn't be able to let it go for a while, at this moment. A familiar elder approached. "Elder Ling, we must part now. The next time we meet, it will probably be on the beast-tide battlefield." Ling Jinghu cupped his hands in response. The elders present also bid farewell to familiar elders. Feng Guchan was among them, seeing that everyone had finished saying goodbye and was about to leave. He suddenly cupped his hands sternly and said, "Everyone, I have an unreasonable request. If you encounter our sect's disciple, Jiang Fan, please tell him to return to the Green Cloud Sect immediately." Jiang Fan. Su Yining's eyes brightened slightly. Since venturing out, this was the first time she'd heard news about Jiang Fan. Unable to contain her concern, she stepped forward and asked, "What happened to junior brother Jiang?" Ling Jinghu also had a strange expression. "Jiang Fan, wasn't he just in front of you? Why didn't you mention it sooner? Now he's nowhere to be found." She was also curious why the Green Cloud Sect suddenly summoned Jiang Fan back so urgently and asked, "Elder Feng, why is the Green Cloud Sect calling him back so urgently?" Feng Guchan could ignore Su Yining, but he couldn't ignore Ling Jinghu. With a slight hesitation and a somewhat vindictive tone, he said, "This disciple has committed some grave wrongdoing in the Supreme Sect. So much so that the Supreme Sect Master personally wrote a letter of complaint to the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion. The Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion sent someone to our sect to investigate. Therefore, the sect is urgently summoning this disciple back for questioning." "What?" Su Yining was a bit stunned. The dignified Supreme Sect Master personally wrote a complaint letter. Generally speaking, a sect leader wouldn't normally concern themselves with the affairs of juniors. Even if a junior offended someone, it would be dealt with by the disciples, and if they couldn't handle it, the elders would step in. How could it be that a sect master would lower themselves to personally deal with a junior? She couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. Had Jiang Fan committed an unforgivable offense in the Supreme Sect? Ling Jinghu was dumbfounded. The Supreme Sect Master wrote a complaint letter? She looked around. Then she saw the Supreme Sect's team. The team was supposed to be led by Great Elder Shangyuan Sheng, but the front line urgently needed medical supplies, so he couldn't leave. Therefore, the second Elder Liu Qingxian came, along with several elite Foundation establishment disciples of the 8th layer. "Elder Li, what exactly did Jiang Fan do wrong in the Supreme Sect?" Ling Jinghu asked. Everyone else was also curious. The Supreme Sect Master was known for being gentle. What could have angered him so much that he lodged a complaint with the Heavenly Mechanism Pavilion? Liu Qingxian's old face turned red. He coughed dryly and said, "I don't know. No comment." Ling Jinghu was taken aback. How could something in the Supreme Sect be hidden from the second elder? She looked at the 5 Supreme Sect disciples. The expressions of those disciples were unnatural as they turned their faces away. They had watched as the Supreme Sect's top experts, Wang Yunj, Liu Qingxian, and even Hua Xianxian, were all single-handedly defeated by Jiang Fan. Such a disgraceful matter, how could they possibly mention it? At Liu Qingxian's call, they hurriedly left the scene, leaving everyone confused. Ling Jinghu couldn't help but feel worried. What on earth did this guy do? Why does everyone from the Supreme Sect seem terrified? Speaking of Jiang Fan, he moved like a shadow, shuttling through the endless sword forest. Seeing that the edge of the sword forest was not far away, unexpectedly, out of the corner of his eye he glimpsed a black shadow flashing past to the right. "Who is it?" Jiang Fan suddenly stopped in his tracks. His sharp eyes looked around. But there was nothing there, only rows of broken swords standing alone. There was nothing there. "Did I see it wrong?" Jiang Fan shook his head in doubt and continued on his way. A few flashes later, he disappeared without a trace. After an unknown amount of time, an ancient sword suddenly fell. The ground bulged, and a pitch-black mirror emerged from the earth. "How am I so unlucky, almost running into that kid again?" It was none other than the evil spirit that had narrowly escaped. It was thankful Lu Shi, the fool, had inadvertently given it a chance to escape. All the way, it cautiously made its way out of the sword forest. Taking advantage of the myriad sword sect's strong members being attracted by the sky-devouring tiger, it had a high probability of slipping out of the myriad sword sect. as long as it could leave safely. Then, like a fish returning to the sea or a bird to the sky, no one could stop it anymore. Thinking of the outside world with countless low-tier martial artists, it couldn't help but drool. As long as it didn't encounter extremely powerful martial artists, the usual martial artists were like meat on the cutting board, at its mercy. But just now, Jiang Fan almost scared its soul away as he passed by. Of all the people, why did I encounter this demon? Luckily, I reacted quickly and fooled him. The Black Mirror muttered to itself. It looked around. Sticking to the ground, it continued to make its way out of the sword forest. Seeing that the exit of the sword forest was nearby, it was full of enthusiasm. Almost there. I'll be out soon. But after some exploring, it was stunned. Looking at the mounded soil in front of it, it couldn't help but feel puzzled. Isn't this where I was hiding just now? Turning its head, it was horrified to discover. At some point, a layer of faint mist had appeared, trapping it in this place. This discovery sent a chill down its spine. It had a bad premonition. In the next moment, without any warning, a playful voice sounded in its ears. "Are you lost? Do you need help?" Hiss, the Black Mirror trembled violently, extremely shocked, turning around. The Jiang Fan it thought it had fooled, had somehow returned, standing with his hands behind his back. His legs were surrounded by thunder light, ready to strike. The Black Mirror gasped in fear and shouted, Didn't you leave?" Jiang Fan's eyes were cold. "If I hadn't faked it, how could I have tricked you into showing yourself?" It turned out. When he sensed the black shadow, he guessed it might be the escaped evil spirit. He had fought the evil spirit to the brink of death, forming a deep blood feud. If it escaped, it would surely become a future threat. But if it hid underground, he might not be able to root it out. So he pretended to leave, then made a quick return, using the Mirage Demon Pill to trap it here, giving it no chance to escape again. The Black Mirror went mad, realizing it had been fooled massively. It couldn't win a fight and it couldn't escape. Where did this freak come from? So difficult. "Boy, can't you just let me go?" the Black Mirror said in a deep voice. Jiang Fan's expression was icy. "Sure. I'll let you report to King Yan." Before the words were fully out of his mouth, he had already raced forward, giving the Black Mirror no chance to play tricks. "Wait, don't you want this spiritual artifact?" Chapter 343. Chapter 343, Origin of the Evil Spirit. Chapter 343. Chapter 343, Origin of the Evil Spirit. At the last moment, the evil spirit gritted its teeth and revealed an explosive piece of news. Even Jiang Fan stopped abruptly. Staring at the Black Mirror, he said, "A spiritual artifact? You mean this mirror?" As the owner of the purple sword, he had more say on the power of spiritual artifacts than anyone else. Could this Black Mirror before his eyes really be a spiritual artifact? The evil spirit in the mirror, unconcerned, said, "I originally intended to keep this spiritual artifact to myself. Now I can share it with you, on the condition that you spare my life." Jiang Fan squinted, seemingly deep in thought. The thunder light on his leg, however, showed no signs of diminishing. If anything, it grew even stronger. Terrified, the evil spirit said, "I'm not lying to you. This mirror is called the Ancient Heart Mirror, a genuine spiritual artifact. Its purpose is to read others' innermost thoughts, making it the ultimate divine artifact for probing the world's secrets." Jiang Fan still squinted his eyes. Obviously, he didn't quite believe its words. The evil spirit said nervously, "I'm not lying to you. If you don't believe me, I'll show you." The Black Mirror turned and faced Jiang Fan. Immediately, the evil spirit said, "What you're thinking right now. With such a spiritual artifact in its possession, why is this evil spirit, which should have been invincible, now trapped in the sword forest, barely managing to cultivate its spiritual wisdom?" What? Jiang Fan's heart pounded and his pupils contracted fiercely. This was indeed what he was thinking. This evil spirit had merely shown the mirror on him and could truly read his mind. He swung his sword at the Black Mirror. Clang, the Black Mirror produced a series of sparks from the friction with the sword chi, yet it remained undamaged. The evil spirit cleverly adjusted the Black Mirror's angle to avoid facing Jiang Fan. Smugly it said, "Now you believe me, right? As for why I ended up like this, isn't it all because of that despicable tiger demon?" Tiger demon. Jiang Fan's heart moved. Could the tiger demon it mentioned be the myriad demons' emperor, the invincible being close to the divinity transformation realm? Later, the tiger demon suddenly disappeared. This caused chaos among the demon race. The evil spirit, filled with intense hatred, said, "We explored an ancient cave mansion together, searching for a chance to advance to the divinity transformation realm. After much effort, we successfully found an extraordinary treasure that gave us hope of transforming to divinity. Unexpectedly, the tiger demon suddenly attacked me. I got lucky and managed to hide a wisp of my soul in this ancient mirror, then fled to this place. I buried myself underground for years only to wake up recently. Hiss. Jiang Fan's heart was shaken. This evil spirit in front of him had once been a peerless powerhouse on par with a late-stage nascent soul tiger demon. Everyone had thought it was just an ordinary evil creature that gained self-awareness. However, regarding the tiger demon's betrayal, Jiang Fan took it with a grain of salt. Based on the fact that this person woke up and wanted to devour the essence blood of many martial artists. The person was definitely not a good sort. Who betrayed whom was really hard to say. He nodded, eyes flashing, and said, "All right, I believe this is a spiritual artifact. Now leave this mirror at once. I will spare your life." Having encountered it, Jiang Fan certainly couldn't miss this ancient heart mirror. Of course, he couldn't let the evil spirit go either. Hee, sir, we are both smart people, so there's no need to say unspoken words." How could the evil spirit not know what Jiang Fan was thinking? Leaving the black mirror would mean certain death for it. Jiang Fan squinted. "You think you'll live if you don't leave?" The evil spirit laughed heartily. "If you didn't know the origin of this mirror, I believe you would spare no expense to eradicate me." "But now, do you dare?" Jiang Fan fell silent. His thunder technique could indeed penetrate the mirror and kill the evil spirit completely. The question was, would the mirror be damaged as a result? A spiritual artifact, if it were destroyed just like that, would be such a pity. The evil spirit said, "Boy, I have survived all these years just for the sake of avenging the grudge from back then. If you can find a way to help me gather a body, giving my remnant soul a vessel to reside in. This mirror I will present to you as a token of gratitude." Jiang Fan pondered. He didn't believe a single punctuation mark of the evil spirit's words. When this person was alive, they took nothing but this mirror with them as they fled. It showed that the mirror was their most important possession. How could they give it away? Only by eliminating the evil spirit could he truly own this spiritual artifact. However, it was deeply hidden in the mirror, and forcibly killing it might damage the mirror. He needed a special method to eradicate it completely. He thought of the void ancient tree, a fruit that only a core formation realm cultivator could pluck. Sealed within was a cultivation technique for soul attacks. This evil spirit was a remnant soul. What it feared the most, undoubtedly, was soul attacks. After a brief contemplation, Jiang Fan nodded. "Do you promise not to play any tricks?" Seeing that Jiang Fan took the bait, the evil spirit said, "I can swear to the heavens. If I lie, may I be struck down by 5 bolts of thunder." Jiang Fan inwardly sneered. What good is an oath? What he needed to do now was to stabilize the other party. Once he broke through to the core formation realm and learned the soul's secret technique, the first thing he'd do was eliminate it. "All right, I'll believe you for now. How do you suggest gathering the body?" Jiang Fan asked. The evil spirit said, "I will write down the necessary materials. You collect them and give them to me. The rest you don't have to worry about." As it spoke, a wisp of black fog extended out and wrote a list of numerous materials densely packed on the ground. Jiang Fan took one look and couldn't help but twitch his eyelid. "You really dare to ask for these? Demon Emperor essence blood, demon core, bones, fur? You think too highly of me." These materials were akin to needing a complete demon emperor's corpse. Where was he supposed to get them? The evil spirit chuckled. "For you alone, it surely seems a slim hope. But isn't there still me? I know of a demon emperor's corpse preserved in excellent condition. Just follow my instructions and obtaining it won't be a problem." Jiang Fan contemplated for a moment. He wasn't too suspicious of its words. A nascent soul corpse was unimaginable to him. This person, who was once a renowned late-stage nascent soul great cultivator, might find it more plausible. "All right, but I need to finish what I'm doing first, then I'll help you search." Jiang Fan nodded. After all, it was just buying time. Once he reached core formation and learned the soul's secret technique, the first thing would be to eliminate it with a soul attack. How could he genuinely help such an evil remnant soul gather a body? "That's natural." The evil spirit agreed readily. "And I won't make you help for nothing. During this period, you can use the ancient heart mirror at will." Jiang Fan felt a surge of excitement, but also wary. He asked, "How does this mirror work? If it requires blood or a part of my soul, then forget it." Facing a bloodthirsty evil spirit, blood recognition or dividing one's soul into the mirror was definitely not a good idea. "You're quite cautious." The evil spirit chuckled. "Rest assured, I need your help now. Compared to absorbing some creature's blood and flesh to become a full-fledged evil spirit, I would prefer you help me find a new body so I can start cultivating anew." A wisp of black fog emerged, gathering into some text in the air. This is the method to control the ancient heart mirror. You memorize it. With half a year of cultivation, you should be able to manage the ancient heart mirror. Jiang Fan took a look. He couldn't help but inwardly laugh. This control method was essentially equivalent to a lower, profound-level cultivation technique. He comprehended it in an instant. There was no need for half a year. He calmly nodded. "All right, I've memorized it. I'll practice when I have time." The text, condensed by the black fog, immediately dissipated. The evil spirit was very satisfied with Jiang Fan's straightforwardness and said meaningfully, "We wouldn't have known each other if we hadn't fought. As a token of our cooperation, I'll give you another great gift." Chapter 344. Chapter 344, Digging Up the Demoness's Treasure. Chapter 344. Chapter 344, Digging Up the Demoness's Treasure. Oh. Jiang Fan showed a hint of caution. "What is it?" The evil spirit played with his words. "That girl in the blood skirt, you know her, right? The daughter of the demon emperor Liu Li." Jiang Fan's eyes flickered. "What about her?" The evil spirit said. "She buried a top-grade magic sword and some personal demon race treasures in a certain place." "Would you like to know where?" Jiang Fan was taken aback. "Top-grade magic sword? Liu Li being a demon race, where did she get a top-grade magic sword?" Suddenly, he recalled Su Qingyang's lost top-grade magic sword. Initially, it was taken away by Jin Yunli. Afterward, Jin Yunli was attacked and killed by the demon race. Both he and the sword disappeared without a trace. Now it seemed that the demon kings who attacked Jin Yunli were instructed by Liu Li, and that sword naturally fell into her hands, to avoid attracting the Myriad Sword Sect's attention. Before entering the Myriad Sword Sect, she buried the sword somewhere, which sounded quite reasonable. Jiang Fan felt a momentary temptation, then regained his clarity. Leaving aside the fact that he already possessed a spirit sword, a top-grade magic sword would be a burden. Moreover, Su Qingyang had taught him the sword control technique and favored Su Yining. How could he claim possession of the top-grade magic sword? Even if he took a step back and considered, Su Qingyang without his sword had significantly weakened. The impending war between the human clan and the demon race. In high-end battles, the human clan lacking a top-tier combatant would increase the chances of losing. After a moment of thought, he said, "Lead the way." The top-grade magic sword, he did not need it. However, Liu Li's personal demon race treasures that she couldn't bring into the Myriad Sword Sect, he was very interested in. As the daughter of the demon emperor, she should have quite a few invaluable treasures on her, right? Heh, I knew you'd be interested. 100 miles due south, there's a desolate mountain that looks like a brush holder. You better hurry up. This demoness will come back to retrieve her items once she catches her breath. If you happen to run into her, you'll be in big trouble." Jiang Fan's expression changed slightly. Immediately, he used his movement technique and swiftly left the sword forest, heading towards the mountain gate. "Junior brother Jiang," Qin Kei returned from the sect's treasury. Her face was beaming with joy. Her master returned from Supreme Elder Zhou Kidden and praised her greatly. Also, he granted her an opportunity to go to the sect's treasury to choose a third-grade treasure. She understood that this was thanks to Jiang Fan. Feeling grateful, she saw Jiang Fan's figure darting swiftly in the distance. She immediately called out. Jiang Fan had no time to stop and talk, urgently saying, "Quickly notify Supreme Elder Su Qingyang. He can retrieve his sword 100 kilometers due south." In a moment, he disappeared. Covering 100 miles with Jiang Fan's full speed, he arrived within an hour. Looking from afar, sure enough, there was an unremarkable barren hill that looked like a brush holder. The evil spirit said, "It's buried under a big rock at the top of the mountain." After a pause, it said in a puzzled tone, "But why did you notify the owner of the sword? Isn't the top-grade magic sword stronger than the high-grade magic sword on your back?" It found it difficult to understand. It intended to give this boy a big gift. Unexpectedly, he had no greed and informed the owner of the sword. Jiang Fan made an excuse. "This sword belongs to the first sword king of the 9th sect. I dare to take it, but I don't dare to use it. It's better to just take the demoness personal treasures. As for inviting the sword's owner over, it's to be on the safe side. If the demoness returns with that fierce tiger, we'll at least have some help." The evil spirit was silent for a moment. After a while, it sighed deeply. "If I had been as meticulous as you back then, I wouldn't have ended up like this." Jiang Fan just chuckled. If this evil spirit hadn't been meticulous in life, how could it have cultivated to the late-stage nascent soul? It would have died countless times already. It lost because of its greed. "Let's dig up the treasure first," Jiang Fan reminded. The evil spirit nodded. Go to the middle of the mountain, there's a big black stone. The demoness buried the items under it. Following its instructions, Jiang Fan flew to the top of the mountain. Sure enough, he saw a black stone about the size of a millstone. The soil around it showed faint signs of being disturbed. It looked like the place where Liu Li hid her treasures. However, Jiang Fan did not rush forward immediately. He flicked his sleeves, and a large amount of heavenly mountain silk flew out. Under the enhancement of spiritual power, it became as hard as iron, fiercely whipping the ground around the black stone. The ground was marked with deep cuts as if someone had used their fingers to carve them, like a giant spider's web. It looks like there are no traps nearby. Jiang Fan muttered to himself, I just don't know if there are any under this black stone. He flicked his sleeves again, and the heavenly mountain silk tightly wrapped around the black stone. He retreated behind a large stone nearby. Only a pair of eyes showed as he pulled hard. Kriak! The black stone was pulled away. The spot where it had been resting suddenly shot out countless cold rays like a torrential downpour, shooting in all directions. Thud, thud, thud. The large stone Jiang Fan was hiding behind was instantly hit by dozens of cold rays. The huge stone was forcibly moved half a meter or more, narrowly missing, pushing Jiang Fan off the cliff behind him. After the cold rays disappeared, Jiang Fan finally showed his head. The scene was a mess. All the vegetation had been severed by some unknown hidden weapons and had all rotted and turned black. The large stone blocking the hidden weapons was riddled with dense black holes, like a beehive emitting black smoke. The evil spirit clicked its tongue. My goodness. This demoness, though young, has a ruthless heart. A mid-stage Jade martial artist hit by this would be severely injured if not dead. Lucky you're cautious, otherwise you'd be in big trouble. Jiang Fan covered his mouth and nose with his sleeve to avoid inhaling the unknown black smoke. He coldly stared at the black mirror. The evil spirit chuckled nervously, feeling guilty. Don't look at me like that. I only caught the thought of her hiding treasures here. I had no idea she left traps, truly. I never intended to harm you. After a moment's thought, Jiang Fan finally withdrew his gaze. If the evil spirit really wanted to harm him, it could have told him a little later, letting him encounter Liu Li and the sky-devouring tiger. The traps were still in place, meaning Liu Li hadn't arrived yet. No time to lose. Jiang Fan cautiously walked over. He found a dead snake's head under the stone. Its mouth was filled with countless sharp teeth. Just now, when the stone was moved, the snake's head was triggered, spitting out a barrage of poisonous teeth, carefully removing it. Jiang Fan indeed found something under the snake's head. It was a long cloth bag. Opening the cloth bag, the first thing he saw was an ancient bronze long sword. Even through the hilt, the powerful pressure emitted made Jiang Fan feel a prickling sensation on his back. Sure enough, it's Su Qingyang's top-grade magic sword. Jiang Fan grabbed the sword and strapped it to his back. Then he looked at the other items. He found a red undergarment. He was stunned. The so-called personal treasures also hidden here, just an undergarment. He was about to throw it away. But then he thought again. It didn't make sense. The items hidden here should be those that couldn't be brought into Myriad Sword City. Things that could be easily identified as belonging to the demon race. If it were merely an undergarment, it wouldn't require such trouble. Could it be that this undergarment held some secret? As he thought about it, the evil spirit let out a low cry. My goodness, boy, you've struck it rich. Chapter 345. Chapter 345, Getting Rich. Chapter 345. Chapter 345, Getting Rich. It turns out to be top-grade defensive armor made from the silk of the moon, viewing ancient silkworm. Defensive armor. Jiang Fan grabbed the belly band and rubbed it in his hands. It felt cool and soft to the touch, indeed unlike any common material. After a brief thought, he drew the Sorrow Frost sword and slashed at it with force. The belly band remained unharmed, not even a scratch was left. Huh! Jiang Fan was surprised. It's quite resistant, huh? The evil spirit scoffed. You're underestimating the moon-viewing ancient silkworm. It's an ancient demon emperor-level beast. Its silk is the best material for defensive treasures. Not to mention you, even a nascent soul realm would find it difficult to break. What? This belly band had such a significant origin. Jiang Fan was quite shocked, but considering the status of the Liu Li demon emperor's daughter, it seemed reasonable. Her father couldn't have let her venture into human territories without thorough preparations. This is a woman's garment. He, as a man, couldn't wear it, but he could take it back and give it to Su Yoren or Chen Silin. So, he unceremoniously stuffed it into his pocket, only to find another package of lotus leaves underneath the belly band. When he opened it, he found a thumb-sized, bright red fruit. At first glance, it looked like a small tomato. A red light flowed inside, almost like it was filled with blood. "Blood Bodhi?" The evil spirit gasped again. "This little demon girl sure has a lot of good stuff. A Bodhi pill made from blood Bodhi can greatly enhance the body's strength. It's essential for those in the 9th layer of core formation to survive the tribulation to nascent soul." Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan's heart skipped a beat. To break through to the nascent soul, one needed this to strengthen their body. The effect on body refinement must be incredibly strong. Recalling the great effort he put into getting a bottle of poison dragon bone marrow, he realized how precious this blood Bodhi was. This really was a lucky find. He carefully put it into a jade box, affixed several sealing talismans onto it, and then was content to stash it in his pocket. Thus, the bag's contents were all emptied by him. But he did not leave immediately. Instead, he pondered as he lifted the empty bag, revealing the ground underneath. "Huh, there's more stuff," the evil spirit gasped. There beneath the bag was a shining longbow. It was crystal clear, as if made of glass. It emitted a very powerful spiritual pressure. Beside it lay a crystal arrow. The two of them together gave Jiang Fan an intense feeling of danger. No less than Su Qingyang's top-grade magic sword. The evil spirit took a deep breath. Goodness. It's a naturally occurring top-grade magical treasure. This is a rare find even among nascent soul martial artists. Because a naturally occurring top-grade magical treasure, refined by a human clan artifact refining master, can be made into a spiritual artifact. This is the embryo of a spiritual artifact. The evil spirit was a bit envious of Jiang Fan's haul. If it weren't for the fact that he was just a remnant soul and these things were useless to him, he would have snatched them long ago. Jiang Fan picked up the bow and arrow, immediately sensing an immensely dangerous aura. He couldn't help but show a trace of relief. It's a good thing the demoness left this bow here. Otherwise, if I had to fight it, I'd be at a great disadvantage. Unless he didn't mind exposing the purple sword. Otherwise, Jiang Fan couldn't think of any way to deal with this extremely dangerous bow and arrow. The evil spirit looked at the completely emptied treasure vault and clicked its tongue. "You've stripped her of every last hair. Aren't you afraid she'll fight you to the death?" He felt somewhat sympathetic for the little demon girl. She had been smart enough to put the treasure in 2 bamboo baskets. Ordinary people would be overjoyed upon finding the astonishing treasures in the bag. Who knew this kid, Jiang Fan, would even check under the bag? Finding and digging up the deeply hidden bow and arrow. At these words, Jiang Fan's face turned solemn. He slung the bow and arrow over his shoulder and resolutely ran away. If he really ran into Liu Li, the consequences would be unthinkable. But, just as Jiang Fan reached the foot of the mountain, 2 speeding figures appeared in front of him. Among them, Jiang Fan recognized one. It was Liu Qi. Accompanying him was a martial artist dressed in black robes with a concealed face. "No one shadow guard?" Liu Qi's face changed. He glanced at Bijia Mountain and then at Jiang Fan, his voice stern. "What are you doing here?" Jiang Fan frowned. "I should be asking you, why are you everywhere?" It was really strange. He came here to dig up the demoness's treasure. Could it be that Liu Qi also knew the clues and came specifically for it? How could a demoness's hidden treasure be known to everyone? Liu Qi felt quite anxious. He said, "You can't leave, stay here and wait for us." He was indeed here to seek treasure. Although the top-grade magic sword had been taken by Lengu, but the sword still carried the true Thunder Sect's aura. After learning of Liu Li's demon emperor daughter's identity, he suspected if the sword had fallen into Liu Li's hands. He carefully sensed it, and indeed felt the thunderbolt aura from the top-grade magic sword. Decisively following the sensation, unexpectedly, he was beaten to it by Jiang Fan. Thus, without finding the top-grade magic sword, he couldn't let Jiang Fan leave. Jiang Fan's eyes turned cold. "Can you stop me?" The demoness and her sky-devouring tiger could arrive at any moment. Staying an extra moment would only increase the endless danger. Why would he stay here? Liu Qi laughed angrily. "The Supreme Elder of the Myriad Sword Sect praised you a few times, and now you really think highly of yourself. It was just a few moves exchanged with the demon emperor's daughter. If I strike, it would be even easier." As a bystander, he couldn't truly feel how terrifying Liu Li's physique was. He only saw Jiang Fan suppress her with ease, thinking Liu Li was trivial. Jiang Fan had no intention of explaining further. He dodged, preparing to pass by them and quickly leave this troubled place. "Still want to go?" Liu Qi laughed angrily. "You really don't put me Liu Qi in your eyes, huh? Taking my woman is one thing." I saved you from the evil spirit, and you didn't even utter a word of thanks. Now you dare to ignore me when I just want you to cooperate a bit. Seems like if I don't teach you a lesson, you wouldn't know pain. He had long wanted to teach Jiang Fan a lesson. Regrettably, there hadn't been an opportunity. Now, with no one around, he could do as he pleased. Jiang Fan was getting impatient. You saved me from the evil spirit. The true Thunder Sect disciple had already explained it. Seems you didn't listen at all. Lu Shi sneered. Explain what? Saving you from the evil spirit is a solid fact. You, ungrateful and more shameless than a pig or dog, didn't even say thank you. Even before a king, I stand justified. Clang. In anger, he drew his sword, leaped towards Jiang Fan and sneered. Today I'll teach you what gratitude means. Jiang Fan's eyes turned colder. Too lazy to engage with such a person, he casually tossed the black mirror away. Teach others, first gain some self-awareness. He kept claiming he saved Jiang Fan from the evil spirit. Then let the evil spirit deal with him. The evil spirit, thrown out, paused, then chuckled. I still have to work for you. You really know how to order people around? However, this wannabe isn't very likable. The black mirror laughed. Facing the menacing Lu Shi, it showed an amused expression. I'll play with you. Hope you can take it. Chapter 346. Chapter 346 Jin Yunli. Chapter 346. Chapter 346 Jin Yunli. Suddenly, the black mirror appeared from Jiang Fan's arms. Lu Shi froze. For a moment, he couldn't understand the situation. Jiang Fan collaborated with the evil spirit. Immediately, he sneered, I have to say I admire you. You can actually tame an evil spirit. However, did you forget who I am? An evil spirit dealing with me, isn't that like a mouse catching a cat? The power of true Thunder Sect, it is the nemesis of such evil. Previously, this mirror was chased by me in a humiliating flee. Now you use it against me? Has Jiang Fan lost his mind? With a sneer. A rumbling thunder sounded within his body, and a current slashed out with the sword Qi, hitting the black mirror with a ding sound. The black mirror immediately let out a miserable cry. Ah, 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 it cried out in pain while rolling on the ground and wailing. Lu Shi sneered, is this all? Number 1 Shadow Guard, do you know how stupid you are? Using such a useless evil spirit against me. As he said this, he stepped on the black mirror. Lightning appeared on his foot as he snorted. A mere evil spirit dares to oppose me. Die! Hiss. Lightning struck into the black mirror with a roar. The screaming in the black mirror didn't intensify. Instead, it suddenly stopped. Instead, a mocking voice replaced it. Hee hee, I said, I'll play with you. Did you actually take it seriously? It was afraid of the power of thunder. But it was afraid of the powerful thunder power from Jiang Fan. This petty lightning isn't even enough to tickle it. What? Lu Shi's face changed. He immediately tried to withdraw his foot, but it was too late. The black mirror instantly released a cloud of black mist, enveloping his foot in an instant, with a slurp sound. Like eating jelly, his foot was devoured, leaving only a bare bone. Intense pain followed. Ah! Lu Shi let out a shrill scream. He staggered backward, hopping on one leg. He fell to the ground with a thud. He didn't have time to look at his bloody foot, shouting in panic, Master, save me! Because a satisfied sigh echoed from the black mirror. I promised to reform, but I couldn't resist a bite. What a delicious taste! However, to recover my yuan energy, I need you to endure a little more. With a sinister laugh, the black mirror lunged towards his chest. At the critical moment, that mysterious martial artist in a black robe snorted heavily. A mere evil thing, how dare you be insolent in front of this elder? Chiz, an arm-thick lightning bolt shot out from his sleeve. It struck the black mirror heavily. This power of thunder was much stronger than Jiang Fan's. The black mirror screamed in fear, quickly covering itself with a black mist. Bam! The black mirror was blasted away, its black mist dissipating completely. Fortunately, the black mirror managed to save its life. It quickly flew back to Jiang Fan's side, shouting urgently, Run quickly, this is a master from the true Thunder Sect. Jiang Fan's pupils contracted. He didn't need to be told to know who it was. Jin Yunli, the missing Jin Yunli. He didn't die but narrowly escaped with his life. For the top-grade magic sword, he was still persistent and came with his disciple to find it. Swish, Jiang Fan dared not hesitate, grabbing the black mirror. He immediately used his movement technique to escape. This person was no saint to begin with. Moreover, he had discovered the secret of him seeking Su Qingyang's sword. No way would he let him live. Jin Yunli tore off his hat, revealing a nearly disfigured face. 5 horrendous scars deep enough to see the bone made the flesh on his face tangle. His right eye was gouged out, his lips split open, tearing along both cheeks. The look was exceptionally ferocious. Without that genuine thunder power, it would be hard to believe this disfigured man in black would be Jin Yunli. His remaining left eye glared at Jiang Fan's retreating figure with a chilling look. In front of this elder, you think you can escape? Chiz, he waved his sleeve, sending a thunder dragon the size of an arm after him. Jiang Fan's expression changed instantly. This was an attack from one of the 9 sect great elders. How could he, a mere disciple, withstand it? Fortunately, he had a movement technique, dodging immediately. Hiss! The powerful current brushed past his shoulder. His clothes were instantly burned to ashes, and the current paralyzed his body for a moment. Jin Yunli's eyes showed a murderous intent. Seeing his chance, he sent another bolt of destructive thunder straight at Jiang Fan's back. At this moment, Jiang Fan could no longer dodge nimbly. Seeing himself about to be hit by the lightning, he decisively turned around, clutching the undergarment in his hand, protecting his chest. Bam! The thunder exploded. The overwhelming lightning struck his chest harshly. Originally, this strike could have blasted Jiang Fan into pieces. Amazingly, the undergarment absorbed all the power of the thunder. Only the residual spiritual power penetrated it, hitting Jiang Fan's chest. Fortunately, Jiang Fan wore a top-grade defensive magical treasure, capable of withstanding attacks from the 5th level of core formation, thus nullifying the damage. The attack he received was less than 1/10 of the full power. Even so, he was blasted away. He spat a mouthful of blood. He didn't die? Jin Yunli was shocked. Despite his severe injuries, his power was still not something a junior could withstand. At that moment of hesitation, while flying backwards, Jiang Fan took the longbow from his waist. He shot an arrow at Jin Yunli. The crystal arrow left a trail of afterimages almost as fast as lightning. It closed in the blink of an eye. When Jin Yunli reacted, the arrowhead was already in front of him. His pupils shrank and he tilted his head to dodge, though he avoided a fatal hit to his face. The arrow's terrifying piercing power shaved off his entire ear as it grazed past. Hiss! Jin Yunli winced in pain. His eyes then erupted with a fierce anger. "You are courting death," he roared in fury. Being shot by a junior, losing his ear? Outrageous. Jiang Fan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his gaze cold. "Want to kill me? You must pay a price." Swish! The arrow that had been shot miraculously circled back into Jiang Fan's hand. This made Jiang Fan marvel at the bow's magic. However, the earlier surprise attack had injured Jin Yunli. In a guarded state, it would be hard to succeed again. His eyes flashed. Jiang Fan drew out the bronze long sword from his back, coldly saying, "Weren't you looking for Su Qingyang's sword? If you have the skill, go pick it up." He activated his sword heart. Without hesitation, he used the sword control technique. The top-grade magic sword turned into a stream of light, rushing towards the distance. At the same time, he used his movement technique, heading towards Myriad Sword City. The two paths were completely opposite. Jin Yunli's face changed. He moved, then stopped in place, because for a moment he didn't know whether to chase Jiang Fan or to seize the top-grade magic sword first. Chapter 347. Chapter 347. Bad Luck. Chapter 347. Chapter 347. Bad luck. If he looked for the sword first with Jiang Fan's movement technique, he would be gone in a moment. If he chased after Jiang Fan first, who knows where this top-grade magic sword would fly to? He hesitated for a moment. Then he gritted his teeth and decisively went towards the flying sword. This trip was originally for the top-grade magic sword. Killing Jiang Fan was just a bonus. Priorities should not be reversed. Jiang Fan let out a sigh of relief, spared no effort in depleting his spiritual power, and dashed straight towards Myriad Sword City. Little did he know, not long after the two went their separate ways. Bijia Mountain Hall. A cloud silently descended on the mountain peak. It was the sky-devouring tiger. On its back was the still-fuming Liu Li. Looking at her face as calm as water, one could tell that she was still angry at the moment. "Young master, there is a saying in the human clan that I find very reasonable. A gentleman takes revenge, even after 10 years is not too late. That kid, even if he wears a mask, can only escape for a while, not for a lifetime. As long as the young master has patience, sooner or later he will be found, and today's revenge can be taken." Liu Li chewed on these words carefully. Her mind gradually cleared. She rubbed her temples and said, "I was blinded by anger. Those who achieve great things do not bother with minor matters. To be blinded by a moment's hatred. How will I become a demon emperor? How will I lead the demons? Fine, today's revenge, I'll just remember it. When there is a chance in the future, I will repay it." She jumped off the tiger's back and said, "Hurry and take all my things back. This place is not far from Myriad Sword City. If Su Qingyang detects it, it will be troublesome." The sky-devouring tiger profoundly agreed. Su Qingyang, without the top-grade magic sword, has only 70% of his peak strength. The hidden danger to our demon race is greatly reduced. This sword must never be obtained by Su Qingyang again. Liu Li nodded. I feel the same. However, as soon as her feet touched the ground, she suddenly realized something was wrong. The ground was full of densely packed corrosion pits. Standing on them hurt her feet, and there was a stinging pain from the corrosion. Her heart sank. She had a bad premonition. She quickly looked around and found that very conspicuous black boulder. But what made her heart sink half was, the boulder had already been moved. The trapped snakehead buried under the boulder by her had also been thrown aside. A feeling of losing ground, falling into a cliff's void came over her, making her body sway. Quick, quick, help me over there. Her body went stiff, her legs felt like they were filled with lead, refusing to move. Her beautiful face was as pale as paper. There not only was Su Qingyang's sword, but also all her belongings. The sky-devouring tiger also sensed the anomaly of the environment and quickly carried her to the black rock. What came into view was a bag, already extremely shriveled. Liu Li's vision darkened. Indeed, the things had been discovered. Her trembling hands picked up the bag, hoping someone had missed something, at least leaving the belly band behind, so that she could have a bit of comfort. But opening it and looking inside, it was completely empty. Her eyes went blank, she stood stunned. The things all gone. The sky-devouring tiger also gasped. The things are all gone? After a pause, it hurriedly said, Young master, quickly check below. See if that bow is still there. Other things can be found again. This sky-shattering bow is the unique holy artifact of the demon race. It cannot be lost. Liu Li came to her senses. Her pale head nodded repeatedly. Right. As long as the bow is still here, it's fine. I hid the bow so deep, the person who took the bag of items would have been too happy to notice. It's impossible they'd think there's something more important below. However, when she lifted the bag, below was empty. Only an indentation left by the bow and arrow remained. The sky-shattering bow is gone. The sky-devouring tiger felt its head buzzing. This had caused big trouble. Even if the young master lost this bow, they'd face severe punishment from the demon emperor upon returning. At the very least, she'd lose half her life. Liu Li's body swayed again and again, finally sitting down on the ground. Her eyes were blank, she said, all gone. How could this be? Her mind was filled with visions of her father's furious face. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but tremble all over. The sky-devouring tiger swallowed hard, reminding, Young master, the urgent matter is to get all the stuff back. This is the only way to make amends. Liu Li came to her senses, leaped up, her eyes burned with raging fury. Who stole all the young master's things? Outrageous. I will find you, I will tear you into 8 pieces and throw you into the river to feed the turtles, she glared around. As a demon, she had a powerful sensing ability. Not to mention her personal belongings. Even the top-grade magic sword she had played with had her scent on it. As long as it was within a certain range, it would not be hard to find. Suddenly, she looked sharply towards the foot of the mountain, her eyes revealing a fierce light. Found it! The aura of the top-grade magic sword is right here, at the foot of the mountain. Jin Yunli was thrilled holding the top-grade magic sword, saying, This sword has finally fallen into my hands. Ha. Heaven helps me too. Lu Shi, having bandaged his foot, endured the severe pain, cupped his hands and said, Congratulations, master, congratulations. With this top-grade magic sword, who in the same realm can contend with master? His face showed sincere admiration. This was a top-grade magic sword, a rare treasure in the entire world. Anyone who gets this sword will surely excel in the 9-sect land. Jin Yunli laughed heartily. Ha, this time you have done a great job. When we return to the sect, I will certainly reward you heavily. Thud. Suddenly, a pitch-black shadow abruptly fell from the sky. Jin Yunli didn't have time to react and was pinned to the ground by the shadow. The immense force shook the ground, sending dust and smoke into the air. Lu Shi was stunned, unable to see through the dust, exclaimed, Master, what happened? When the dust settled, Lu Shi's pupils constricted sharply. His whole body began to shake violently, only to see Jin Yunli pressed to the ground by a huge tiger claw, unable to move. A tiger, black as ink, radiating unparalleled ferocity, coldly glanced at him. Just one glance. Lu Shi's heart burst, spraying blood from his mouth. Immediately after, he blacked out and fainted. Jin Yunli pinned to the ground, his pupils quivering in extreme fear. He stuttered with terror. The sky-devouring tiger, one of the 4 great demon kings under the demon emperor. He gulped down saliva, his heart pounding. How could he encounter such a terrifying existence? Liu Li jumped off the tiger's back. She walked up to him, picked up Su Qingyang's sword from the ground. The scabbard reflected her icy, cold face. "Where are the other things?" Jin Yunli said with a trembling voice. "What other things?" Thud, a flash of cold light. Liu Li chopped off his hand with one sword, causing Jin Yunli to scream in pain. "I'll ask one last time, where are the other things?" Jin Yunli's face was full of grievance. "I really don't know." Seeing Liu Li raise her sword again, he panicked and quickly said, "Wait, are you talking about a belly band and a bow?" Bloodlust swirled in Liu Li's eyes. "If you know, why don't you hand them over?" Jin Yunli cried in justice. "My lord, you misunderstand. The things aren't with me. Someone else got to them first. I just took this sword from them." "What?" Liu Li's expression changed. She asked anxiously, "Who? Where is he?" If that person escaped back to human territory, it was over. Jin Yunli was frightened by her current appearance, said, It's someone wearing a mask. I'm not sure of his exact identity." Wearing a mask. Liu Li was stunned, then immediately thought of Jiang Fan. She narrowed her eyes and said each word slowly. "Could you be saying that the mask has a 1 character on it?" Chapter 348. Chapter 348. Liu Li going crazy, eh? Jin Yunli was stunned. "How did you know?" Clang, Liu Li's palm trembled. The long sword in her hand slipped, falling and clanging against the stone. She staggered back several steps, muttering distractedly to herself. "It's him, it really is him." The sky-devouring tiger was also stunned, muttering, "Why is it him again?" For a moment, it felt as if Jiang Fan was the bane of their young master's existence. "Where is he? Where is he?" After a moment of distraction, the anger in Liu Li's eyes visibly surged. Reaching its peak, it transformed into a volcanic eruption of a scream. Jin Yunli quickly pointed in the direction of Myriad Sword City where Jiang Fan had fled. Liu Li's face was covered with rage. Grabbing a top-grade magic sword, she flashed and chased after him. The sky-devouring tiger's expression changed. "Young master, calm down." It made a move to follow, but noticed that Jin Yunli had yet to be dealt with at its feet, quickly asked, "What should we do with this person?" Upon hearing this, Jin Yunli's heart pounded wildly, and he quickly begged for mercy. "Two lords, I am the great elder of the True Thunder Sect, high-ranking and powerful, capable of providing a lot of intelligence to your demon race. Spare my life, and you won't regret it." He was actually prepared to surrender to the demon race and become an informant. Moreover, his status was very high. The intelligence he could gather was all top secret. It might even help the demon race win a crucial battle. The sky-devouring tiger was tempted. Such a high-level human traitor was extremely valuable. However, without turning back, Liu Li coldly said, "Kill him." The sky-devouring tiger said, "Young master, keeping him could be useful." But Liu Li was resolute. "Are you willing to use someone who would betray their own race?" This made the sky-devouring tiger shudder inwardly. An outsider's heart is always different from ours. This person isn't loyal to his own human race. How could he be loyal to the demon race? He could switch sides to the human race any time. At that time, the demon race might suffer greatly. Therefore, its tiger eyes turned cold. Raising a sharp claw, it slashed Jin Yunli's throat viciously. "N!" A piercing scream abruptly stopped. The dignified great elder of the True Thunder Sect was thus killed. If not for his greed for Su Qingyang's top-grade magic sword, he wouldn't have encountered the sky-devouring tiger here, and wouldn't have died here. The sky-devouring tiger then caught up with Liu Li, carrying her toward Myriad Sword City. In just the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, Liu Li's eyes shot toward a grove, seeing a flickering shadow moving swiftly among the trees. A mask engraved with the word "One" appeared and disappeared. Who else could it be but the No One Shadow Guard? Liu Li gritted her silver teeth, letting out a long, angry laugh. "There was a path to heaven you didn't take, but you chose to barge into hell. No One Shadow Guard, your retribution has come. Chase him." The sky-devouring tiger leaped forward, chasing at an astonishing speed. But suddenly it looked gravely toward the direction of Myriad Sword City. Solemnly said, "Not good, that old thing Su Qingyang is here. And not alone." Liu Li's face changed. She urgently said, "Quick, end this quickly. Capture him alive if possible. If not, then kill him." The sky-devouring tiger's eyes flashed with suspicion. Why did the young master hesitate when talking about killing him? But regardless, this person had to be left behind. He must not be allowed to meet up with Su Qingyang. Whoosh! The sky-devouring tiger, being at the 9th layer of core formation perfection, was equivalent to the Supreme Elders of the Giant Sect, even the top-level Supreme Elders. Considering it was of the demon race, its speed far surpassed that of the human race. Thus, even when Jiang Fan utilized his movement technique to the utmost, he couldn't escape. Moments later, the sky-devouring tiger roared fiercely, leaping and smashing through a large patch of forest. Its massive body blocked Jiang Fan's path. Then a fierce-sturning tiger snarled. Its lantern-like huge eyes glared murderously at Jiang Fan, saying chillingly, "Boy, you can really run." Chasing mid-stage core formation humans wasn't this troublesome. Jiang Fan's heart pounded wildly. What's going on? He had been running for so long, why was he still caught? Facing the terrifying giant tiger, Jiang Fan's thoughts raced, and he cupped his hands, saying, "Respectable Demon King, I was just looking for you. I discovered the great elder and disciples of True Thunder Sect are excavating your treasure." The sky-devouring tiger curled its lips. This boy crying thief to catch a thief. "So, should I thank you?" From the tiger's back, a fuming Liu Li emerged from its dense fur. Her clenched fists, eyes glaring at Jiang Fan, as if seeing a sworn enemy from a past life. Jiang Fan's heart sank. That woman was here too, yet he maintained a calm face, cupping his hands. "Princess, we have known each other. I am sharing this important intel with you. If you are too late, it might be too late." "Ha." Liu Li coldly laughed, raising the long sword in her hand. "You lying dog, look at this. Not a single honest word from your mouth." Su Qingyang's sword. Did that mean she had already been to Bijia Mountain, and Jin Yunli might have met a grim fate? And she had already seen through his lies. Thinking this, his face remained calm, saying, "So the princess already retrieved what was hers. Now I am at ease." Seeing Jiang Fan continually deny, Liu Li angrily laughed. "Enough talk, give me back everything of mine." Jiang Fan looked helpless. "All right." He took out a transparent demon core from his bosom. "Isn't it just taking care of a mirage demon pill for you? Need to chase me over it?" Liu Li gripped her sword tightly in anger, shouting, "Still playing dumb. The things I buried under the stone, not one missing. Give them all back." Jiang Fan showed a look of realization. "Oh, you mean this?" He took off the crystal bow from his shoulder, then suddenly knocked a crystal arrow, shooting it at Liu Li. The power of a top-grade magic artifact was unparalleled. With a blade-breaking force, it pierced the sky. In an instant, shot toward Liu Li's face. But a giant tiger paw, like a door panel, swept forcefully, knocking the crystal arrow away. The sky-devouring tiger's eyes flickered with ferocity, roaring, "Young master, this boy is stalling for time. Enough talking, kill him now." Liu Li was already trembling with anger. "Using my bow and arrow to shoot me? I won't spare you. Capture him alive for me." The sky-devouring tiger staggered, at this time and still capturing alive, but orders from the young master couldn't be disobeyed. The tiger shook its body, pouncing down like a mountain falling. Jiang Fan's heart quaked. Decisively, he took out the purple sword. Having suffered losses, the sky-devouring tiger's eyelid twitched. It had witnessed the power of this sword. It had even severed its claws, but as a highly spiritually intelligent demon beast, its reaction capabilities were remarkable. Jiang Fan had just drawn the purple sword. It opened its mouth to roar. A tremendously powerful roar instantly formed an overwhelming wave of energy, toppling the surrounding forest like deadwood. Jiang Fan felt his blood and qi surging. His internal organs seemed to shatter. His entire body went numb, stiffening at the spot, unable to move. The sky-devouring tiger coldly snorted, "A mere human thinking you can face me head-on." In its view, Jiang Fan, at the Foundation establishment realm, daring to shoot an arrow at it was already an anomaly. Attempting to cause it direct harm was a fantasy utterly impossible. Its tiger claw grabbed, ready to smack Jiang Fan to the ground, but Jiang Fan didn't plan to surrender. Chapter 349. Chapter 349, Call me little demon girl, his limbs couldn't move. But swordsmanship didn't necessarily need hands to be performed. The spiritual power within his body surged rapidly, forming a sword shape. The sword heart activated. The purple sword on his back immediately unsheathed with a clang sound without anyone controlling it. It turned into an extremely dazzling purple light, shooting out instantly. Poof! The giant tiger paw was pierced by the purple light on the spot, bringing out a string of blood beads. Ow! The sky-devouring tiger let out a painful roar, completely unprepared. When its peripheral vision caught sight of the dangerous purple sword flying freely in the air, its tiger eyes shrank dramatically, exclaiming in shock, "Sword control technique? You know the sword control technique?" It couldn't believe it. Among the human clan, aside from Su Qingxian, there was actually a second person proficient in the sword control technique. But it didn't have time to exclaim, because the purple sword, after piercing through its tiger paw, unhesitatingly aimed at Liu Li, to capture the leader first. Jiang Fan naturally understood this principle deeply. "Young master!" The sky-devouring tiger was greatly shocked. The purple sword had already reached Liu Li. Her eyes were filled with fear, forced to use the bloodline talent of the Demon Emperor, condensing a layer of purple barrier around herself. But in front of the purple sword, this barrier was like paper, easily pierced through. The cold purple sword mercilessly aimed at her chest. At the critical moment, the sky-devouring tiger roared angrily. Its long tiger tail turned into a blur, blocking Liu Li just in time. Slice! Its tail was severed immediately. But it also gave Liu Li a chance to react. She turned sideways to avoid the attack. Seeing the sky-devouring tiger's severed tail and its painful roars, Liu Li was furious. "You deserve to die." She drew out a top-grade magic sword with a backhand, throwing it towards Jiang Fan. At this moment, Jiang Fan's body was still somewhat stiff, extremely inflexible. He couldn't dodge at all. Gritting his teeth, he decisively took out that belly band and blocked in front of him. TSS, the top-grade magic sword, which should have been unstoppable, stabbed into the belly band, as if stabbing into a ball of cotton. The sword chi on it was quickly neutralized. The long sword soon fell to the ground. Seeing this, Liu Li's face turned red, freaking out. You shameless! Give me back my belly band!" Using her belly band to block her attack. She felt like she was about to collapse. The sky-devouring tiger, suffering consecutive injuries, was completely driven to fury. It could no longer care about the order to capture Liu Li alive. A giant paw carrying destructive power slammed down, roaring furiously. "Ant die!" Clang at this moment. A flying sword descended from the sky, stabbing straight at the sky-devouring tiger's head. The sword chi was as a rainbow, the cold gleam lighting up the sky. In the Giant Sect land, only one person had such an imposing presence. The sky-devouring tiger's face changed dramatically. Where could it still care about Jiang Fan? It rolled on the ground carrying Liu Li, barely avoiding the immensely powerful sword strike. Bang! The spot where it had been standing was blasted into a large pit with a diameter of several feet by the sword. Scorched earth rolled in the pit, emitting scorching white smoke. Jiang Fan's eyelids twitched. Was this the strike of the first sword king of the Giant Sect, who could withstand such a blow in this world? But he reacted very quickly, too. While Su Qingxian had not yet arrived, he quickly retrieved the purple sword, then picked up Su Qingxian's sword as well. Swish, 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 several figures followed closely behind. It was none other than Su Qingxian and the Supreme Elders of Myriad Sword Sect. Su Qingxian's face was icy. "How dare you, sky-devouring tiger, really think my Myriad Sword Sect is a vegetable garden? Creating trouble again and again." In the sword forest, it had already been chased and ran away by them. Now it dared to come back. Liu Li's face changed drastically. Immediately, she glared at Jiang Fan viciously. She never expected that Jiang Fan would be so difficult to deal with, successfully delaying until Su Qingxian's arrival. She bit her silver teeth in hatred. "We didn't intend to leave the Myriad Sword Sect. It's this bastard who stole my things." Jiang Fan hurried to Su Qingxian's side. Only then did he feel a deep sense of security. He put on a stern face and said, "Little demon girl, don't speak so unpleasantly." Liu Li was enraged when she heard this. "What did you call me? You just called me Your Highness Princess." This shameless guy. When he had no support, he called her Your Highness Princess in a respectful manner. Once he had support, he immediately changed, calling her little demon girl. This was outrageous. She ground her silver teeth. "You took my things, what else is it if not theft?" Jiang Fan said confidently. "Yours? Sorry, I found it in the mountains." "It's a gift from nature." "What?" Liu Li couldn't believe her ears. "A gift from nature? I gift your ancestors." Liu Li was so angry she stomped her feet. "That was obviously mine." Jiang Fan ignored her. He handed the bronze long sword to Su Qingxian. "Senior, I seized your sword back from the little demon girl." Su Qingxian was overjoyed. He grabbed the sword, an excited look emerging on his old face. "Good, good, good. I was already preparing to go to the True Thunder Sect to demand an explanation." So, the sword was taken by the Demon Emperor's daughter. The joy of recovering something lost made him extremely happy. "Boy, this old man owes you another favor." "Whatever you want, say it," Jiang Fan said. "Senior, there's no need to be polite. For the great cause of eliminating demons, it is just a small effort from this junior." As long as the senior can capture that little demon girl, it would be worth the risk I took to seize the sword. Su Qingyang squinted his eyes, slowly looking at Liu Li. The demon emperor's daughter, causing trouble in our human clan's territory. Indeed, she didn't regard our human clan, as his words fell. The top-grade magic sword instantly left his hand, transforming into a far more terrifying sword light aimed at Liu Li. The sky-devouring tiger felt its scalp tingle. With the top-grade magic sword back, Su Qingyang's strength had greatly increased. At this moment, how could it still care about Jiang Fan or the things on him? Carrying Liu Li, it decisively fled. Su Qingyang, with a cold face, snorted, "I want to see if you can escape." He immediately led the Supreme Elders to chase after them. Jiang Fan revealed a hint of schadenfreude. "Little demon girl, now you taste the feeling of being hunted." At this moment, the evil spirit in his arms dared to pop its head out, clicking its tongue. "Let's go quickly. Staying with these old monsters, there's no sense of safety." Jiang Fan curled his lips. "You are the real old monster, aren't you?" He pondered. "Before we leave, let's check if Jin Yunli is dead. As the great elder of a sect, he should have many good items on him." Otherwise, Jiang Fan didn't care much about other things. But the huge power Jin Yunli displayed with those lightning strikes made him very curious. At the foot of Bijia Mountain, Lu Shi slowly woke up, finding Jin Yunli with his head severed. He couldn't help but reveal a look of horror. "Master!" But soon, seeing the sky-devouring tiger and Liu Li had left, he quickly calmed down. Looking at Jin Yunli's corpse, a hint of greed appeared on his face. "Master, although you are dead, your disciple will carry forward your skills." He crawled towards the body. Just as he was about to lift its clothes, Jiang Fan arrived. Without a word, he kicked him flying away. "You!" Lu Shi yelled angrily. But when he met Jiang Fan's cold eyes, he couldn't help but shrink his neck, lying on the ground without daring to make a sound. If he really angered Jiang Fan, killing him at this moment, no one would know who did it. Even a disciple wants to loot, it shows Jin Yunli should have good stuff on him. Jiang Fan smiled slightly. He used a sword to carefully open its clothes, prudently searching its possessions. After a while, Jin Yunli was stripped naked and all his belongings were dumped out. The looted spoils, however, greatly disappointed Jiang Fan. Just this! Besides some pills, there were various materials. Although all valuable, they were of little use to Jiang Fan. A waste of effort. Jiang Fan sighed slightly, preparing to leave. Inadvertently, his peripheral vision caught Lu Shi's excited look when he was about to leave, and he noticed him carefully scanning Jin Yunli's abdomen. Jiang Fan's eyes narrowed. Quietly, he took out the black mirror, inconspicuously reflecting it on Lu Shi. He secretly activated the ancient mirror, concealing it from the evil spirit. Suddenly, an unfamiliar internal voice appeared in his mind. It was none other than Lu Shi's. At this moment, he was sneering. "Fool, my master who loved money so much, would he put the most important things in plain sight?" Jiang Fan's eyes flashed, continuing to quietly listen. Chapter 350. Chapter 350, astonishing treasure. Lu Shi's peripheral vision once again swept across his abdomen, and he laughed in his heart. "My master's most precious possession is the heavenly thunder stone hidden in his dantian. He found it when he was young. It can store the power of heavenly thunder and release it when necessary. It played a crucial role in him becoming the great elder of the true Thunder Sect. Now it's mine." Suddenly, Lu Shi froze, because Jiang Fan, who was preparing to leave, unexpectedly returned to Jin Yunli's corpse. His heart sank. What is he going to do? Could it be that he has discovered the heavenly thunder stone? No way, besides my master, only I know where it is. I didn't say anything, how could he know? But what made his pupils tremble was Jiang Fan's gaze locked on Jin Yunli's abdomen. With a sword slash, he opened the abdomen. A pearl emitting thunder arcs was faintly visible in the dantian. "What is this?" Jiang Fan pointed at the pearl and asked with a half-smile. Lu Shi's heart leaped to his throat, but he forced himself to stay calm. It's a lightning core of a true Thunder Sect martial artist." Jiang Fan stroked his chin and said, "Is it valuable?" Lu Shi's heart raced wildly, but he pretended to be indifferent. "In the true Thunder Sect, every disciple has one. If you think it's valuable, dig it out." He felt that saying this much, anyone would lose interest. Who knew? Jiang Fan said, "All right, I'll take your word for it." With a flick of his sword, he extracted the heavenly thunder stone and placed it in a jade box. Lu Shi's eyes widened and he grew anxious. "Don't listen to me. Just follow the usual script." "Damn it," he hurriedly spoke. "Senior brother, this lightning core is useless to outsiders, but it has some small uses for us true Thunder Sect disciples. Why not sell it to me? A trace of eagerness flickered in his eyes. Who knew, Jiang Fan stuffed the jade box into his bosom and decisively refused. Not for sale, I'll keep it for myself. After saying that, he left, leaving Lu Shi dumbfounded. It took a long time for him to come back to his senses. He stomped his feet in anger and cursed. Now you don't listen to me? That's my master's treasure? You bastard! Ha ha ha, Jiang Fan in the distance laughed heartily. He had to admit the ancient heart mirror was really useful. If it weren't for that, he might have truly missed the heavenly thunder stone. He had always wondered where Jin Yunli's thunder power came from. The true Thunder Sect's cultivation technique involves borrowing thunderbolts, either by triggering heavenly thunder during a thunderstorm or by using thunder attribute magical treasures, talismans, and other items. But Jin Yunli, with a flick of his sleeve, unleashed a bolt of thunder as thick as an arm. This puzzled Jiang Fan for a long time. Now he finally understood that it was due to a thing called the Heavenly Thunder Stone. Kid, you really got a big bargain. The Black Mirror evil spirit showed a trace of envy and fear, saying, the Heavenly Thunder Stone is a rare treasure formed after enduring countless strikes of heavenly thunder. There was once a nascent soul martial artist with a thunder attribute who searched his whole life and only found one stone. And what's more, it wasn't as big as the one you have. Oh. Jiang Fan's eyes twinkled with curiosity. Is the Heavenly Thunder Stone that rare? The Black Mirror evil spirit said. Of course, anything that can attract heavenly thunder is not ordinary. Moreover, attracting countless strikes of heavenly thunder. Before it turned into a heavenly thunder stone, it must have been a peerless treasure that awoke the envy of the heavens. Unfortunately, it wasn't discovered in time and was bombarded into a heavenly thunder stone. It sighed with regret. Jiang Fan's heart shuddered. He thought of the mysterious seed inside him, which also constantly attracted heavenly thunder. Was this heavenly thunder stone once such a mysterious object too? Unfortunately, after enduring countless strikes of heavenly thunder, it had long become unrecognizable and turned into a stone. He wondered if there were still any traces of its former mystery inside. Jiang Fan wanted to take it out and study it carefully. Unexpectedly, the Black Mirror evil spirit asked with a deep meaning. However, how did you know that there was a heavenly thunder stone hidden in this person's danshan? It couldn't figure out why Jiang Fan, who was about to leave, suddenly changed his mind, and with one slash of his sword, found the deeply hidden heavenly thunder stone in the danshan. Jiang Fan's eyes flashed, and he said with a half-truthful tone, of course, I used the Black Mirror's mind-reading ability. Otherwise, how could I find it? The Black Mirror shuddered. It clearly sensed a nervous fluctuation in the evil spirit's emotions. On the surface, it had passed the control method to Jiang Fan, but naturally it didn't want anyone else to master this mirror. But soon, it calmed down. This control method, it had told Jiang Fan, could take half a year to comprehend. What it didn't tell Jiang Fan was that half a year was for it as a nascent soul-level monster. For Jiang Fan, a mere foundation establishment realm, comprehending the control method would take at least 3 to 5 years. It laughed silently. You kid, quite humorous. I think you sensed it strongly because you cultivate a thunder-lightning technique, huh? Jiang Fan shrugged. If the evil spirit thought so, all the better. Seeing Jiang Fan remain silent, the evil spirit became more certain and completely relaxed, laughing. So where are you going now? Going to find the Demon Emperor's corpse right away. It was eager to find a body and then distance itself from Jiang Fan. I was planning to head north to the Giant Sect, but now I think I'll return to the Green Cloud Sect first. Jiang Fan frowned slightly. From Lu Shi's thoughts, he had caught a hint of Feng Guchan's request to pass on a message to everyone. Although it was just a fleeting thought, the Green Cloud Sect's summons for him to return couldn't be faked. Strange, why is the sect suddenly summoning me back? Scratching his head, he was puzzled. Knowing it was an emergency summons, he dared not delay. He immediately headed south. 10 days later, Jiang Fan, riding in a carriage, arrived at the foot of the Green Cloud Sect, dusty and tired. Without any missions, his journey had been smooth and uneventful. He had plenty of time to consolidate his 9th-layer perfection foundation establishment realm. Now, he could start preparing for core formation. Besides that, he successfully cultivated the final move of the heavenly ruined finger, Regretful Dragon, a lower Earth-level finger technique. At this point, this Earth-level finger technique from the Moke Stone Wall on Reincarnation Peak was completely mastered. Although it's a lower Earth-level technique, its power in the final move is no less than the first move of the Tiger and Dragon Roar technique and the 3 Pure Thunder Shadow. Another powerful weapon to defeat enemies. Many thanks to Reincarnation Peak. Jiang Fan smiled slightly and looked up, feeling a deep familiarity with the Green Cloud Sect that had been absent for nearly a month. Entering the sect, he found the Green Cloud Sect even busier than usual. Although many disciples were out on missions, there were more disciples returning to the outer sect to hand in their tasks. Thus, it was particularly bustling. Junior Brother Jiang. Junior Brother Jiang, you're back? The disciples of the Green Cloud Sect responsible for task exchanges saw Jiang Fan from afar, their eyes lit up, and they hurried to greet him. There was a trace of respect in their expressions. Back when the disciples were raided, Jiang Fan defeated Tang Tianlong in 3 moves, becoming a legend in one battle. To this day, the disciples of the Green Cloud Sect still talked about it enthusiastically, especially many low-tier disciples with poor aptitude, looking at the once rootless Jiang Fan, who had walked a glorious path. They were greatly inspired and trained even more diligently. This greatly improved the cultivation atmosphere of the entire sect. Jiang Fan smiled gently. I hope you have all been well, senior brothers. Has the sect been peaceful lately? One disciple laughed. With the Supreme Elder and Sect Master here who would dare cause trouble? Jiang Fan nodded. He was worried that, like the Spirit Beast Sect, they might be infiltrated by demon beasts. Learning that all was well, he felt relieved. What about the Sect Master Peak? Jiang Fan asked again. The disciples' faces immediately stiffened and they stammered. The Sect Master Peak is indeed facing some trouble. Jiang Fan raised his eyebrows. What? Is the Great Elder causing trouble again? The only person he could think of was Feng Guchan. One disciple hurriedly said, This has nothing to do with the Great Elder. Rather, it has something to do with you, junior brother Jiang. Me. Jiang Fan was puzzled. He hadn't been in the sect for a month. How could it be related to him? It wasn't until the disciple mentioned a name that he suddenly understood.